Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright.
class.
What's happening?
This is going to be a really good one. We're going to start playing with some of this new structure. And honestly, because the goal this year is to make sure you walk away with usable tools as opposed to, there's a saying that says if you have a lot of knowledge and you can't use it, you have nothing. And a lot of times in these kind of programs, everybody focuses on just knowledge transfer. But one of the challenges that people deal with is that we all have different contextual lives. And so we take in all this knowledge, and often it's twisted in the process, right? Good people twist a lot of information in the process and produce all kind of outcomes. And so in this New Hope Academy structure, we're going to focus on making sure you guys can process it, get it, play with it, own it, and start applying it, right? If you can't own it, you can't apply it. And we don't want you guys teacher or information worshiping. We want you guys to become leaders. And in order for you to become leaders, we want an environment where you guys can do that. Second of all, for anybody that's new to this class or questioning themselves, know deep down inside, we believe in all y'all. If we didn't, especially him. Now, I believe in you, but you might be doing 25 years of life, he still believes in you. Straight up. I'm not even exaggerating. He's he's next level, right? He's like African American East Oakland Buddhist. So, but we really believe in folks, and so, and we know everybody can do this. We know everybody can do this, and so if you question yourself, you're probably not chunking. You probably think you need to get it right away, and if you don't get it right away, you're flawed. Everybody that's ever been in our class, all the successful entrepreneurs in the class, all the successful leaders in our class, they all could tell you times they were snagged. They didn't get it. It didn't work. They were frustrated. They questioned, am I in the right place? Some people came online 1 year. Some people came online 4 years, and everything in between. I want to invite you guys to be patient. I want to invite you guys to realize it's a process of growth. And by you becoming part of Hope Academy, you will have an opportunity to talk to your peers. You have opportunity to grow organically. And trust me, like I said, anybody that's been with Hope 2 or 3 years plus, they'll tell you your life's going to transform in ways you can't even begin to imagine. A lot of us are running with, when I was 16, I had a broken down hoopty, Mercury Comet, red and black, with 2 6x9s I call beat. Because in the hood, you bought the music first before you got the car. That's no lie. That's real chalk. And I made that raggedy car work. That raggedy car made it up and down California with bottles of oil in the trunk. And I had a whole bunch of tools in the back, and I was ready to go. I learned how to work on old school cars really fast because I got stranded enough time I had to figure it out. And I even had plans on how to be not too far from gas stations. I had all that to plan, and I had a little money for tow, right? This is what it was. But then one day, you get an upgrade, and you didn't know cars can do that. And it gets to a point where driving, you start saying, oh my God, this is great. And so you get 2 more upgrades. And then one day, say your car goes to the shop and they give you that hoopty as a loaner again. And you have no idea that you were actually trying to make, all these years you made that hoopty work. Well, so many of us have come through the fire. We've been through some shit. Even if you haven't been through some shit, you came from a family who've been through some shit. And because you're carrying all that weight, you're really driving around this vehicle that's compromised. And so as you start to upgrade yourself by, let me be very, very clear. We cannot get you there without you coming along. It's your responsibility to go. We're going to support you. Anybody who promises you that I can tell you something that's going to change your life forever and you don't have to do anything, just call that person a pimp. Now, depending on how you respond, you call yourself what you need to call yourself, right? But the reality is that a journey of growth, you own that. Our role is to support you and then create an environment to cultivate you, but you own that. And it's very important that you know you own that. Because later on, you're going to find as court starts to teach more and more about the personality and the mindset of an entrepreneur, you're going to discover you don't get to blame the outside world. You don't get to point fingers. The outside world will always be the outside world. Shit will always be good. Shit will always be bad. Still, you still got to figure out how to move forward. And so I just want to drop that. Another thing I want to drop real quick, I want to show some respect for the folks who lost through all the mass killings. So we had 3 that I can think of off the top. No, actually 3.5. So the reason I say half, because I'm not sure how many people were tied up in the 4th one. But we had one in Oakland by my house, one in San Mateo County, and one in Monterey, down south, Monterey Park. Respects to all those folks. I noticed the media, so I don't know if you guys ever pay attention to systemic racism. Next thing, shout out to our mayor. The new mayor, dope what she did. Because she came out and recognized the mass shootings in Oakland, where the larger media almost act like it didn't exist, right? The governor acknowledged it, but the mayor came out right away with the chief. Also, shout out to the black police chief. Want to see that cat come back? I like that cat a lot, actually. I like the way he shows up. But anyway, and I met him personally, and he feels like an Oakland dude.
He is.
Yeah, he's an Oakland dude from West Oakland. So, I always say we want our own people policing our communities. He's one of us, and that makes me super excited. But anyway, but I do want to say something too, because I know when black folks, when y'all hear Asian hate, I know what happens. Can I be honest? Y'all turn your ears down, because we get victimized by some of the richer Asians that also victimize other Asians. Let me be very clear. A lot of folks in the Asian community rise strong with black people, really strong with us. I'm talking about they fight for us. The Asian community has some of the largest gap in income. There's really, really rich Asian, there's really, really poor Asian community. If you ever go drive through down the street and you see people in line, you'll see folks in the Asian community in those lines. So let's not let, because I know if you go to Chinatown sometimes, it ain't the most fun experience for a black person. It's just not. I don't do it enough times. I'm over it. It is what it is. But also too, I don't really care because they don't impress me, right? If you don't like me, I don't like everybody. Don't like me. I got black folks who don't fuck with me. I don't fuck with them either. And I'm not here to ask everybody to fall in love with me. That's everybody's right to like who they want to like. But just to show more empathy towards them, that particular community was actually a working class community. And the ones who got killed, they have a hell of a history there. And even the people in San Mateo County, those was a lot of workers, the Latino communities who rise strong with us too. So just to show respect to those communities, 3, never make a comparison between them. When black folks, 70 black folks got shot and 1 died, it was a Latino brother who died. And so I don't ever want us to do that. Just as, I saw Elon Musk make a lot of bad mistakes as a business person that hurts his products and services. As entrepreneurs, try to walk in value and empathy of other people so you can show up to these spaces correctly. If you walk in these spaces and you do these comparisons of some of that low-level type of engagement, you may find yourself one day destroying yourself, right? The world's different now. It's just different. And so, I honestly, the other one was, Josh had told me some trans folks that got killed in San Francisco. And first of all, the trans folks that we got a chance to meet, some beautiful people. But man, all this killing shit, it's just, I'm not with it. I'm not with it on no level. And you could disagree and agree or whatever. But, killing folks because of you have different values, different beliefs or whatever, it's just, I'm over that shit. And so, And they hear like even the brothers who killed each other over, they're doing a rap song. You got a problem? Are we good? Okay, why'd you raise your hand? Okay, so you'll make sure I don't see that. Okay, just make sure y'all, like there's phones and shit, Anyway, so, he like this, like, what? So yes, I just want to take a special moment just to say, hey, prayers go out to all the communities. They're all folks, and even white folks. Fuck it, I'm not against nobody. I don't fuck with those who don't fuck with me, and I fuck with those who do. It's just that's a simple math I got. I don't make it no harder than that. But just keep people in your prayers. Keep East Oakland in your prayers as a whole, because the city's going through some shit. And I live in East Oakland, so I get the chance to feel the climate. It's real out there. So that's just a quick shout out, just a quick moment of just acknowledgement. Show respects. If you run across people that are in mourning, even if you feel like they get on your nerves, because some of the like I said, some of the Asian hate tones, it feels more politically driven than caring. I don't see us caring. I see it's politics. But even if that's happening, show respect. So always just show respect. That's what's most important.
Let me jump in here. Also, too, like, how many Instagram, TikTok, Facebook posts do you have in draft that you wanted to send, but you paused because it was about to be some dumb shit, and you decided not to do it, and you later looked back and was glad you didn't post it? Like, that's the kind of energy you got to move through in these situations. If we learned anything from COVID, it was anybody who's quick to jump to a judgment and start posting some shit, more than half of those times you live to regret that, because you realize you were misinformed, you didn't have enough information, or you got hijacked by a particular emotion of the mob at the time, and then you look back and realize, man, I wasn't even making any sense. I got hijacked. As entrepreneurs, we don't necessarily have the luxury all the time to go from opinion to opinion without having to pay for that shit later. So please, in these times, as we know, this is post-COVID times, and emotions and mental health is at a very volatile stage at these times. So we have to play the leaders in the game and realize, if I don't have all the information, or if I'm not objective, or if I'm emotional, let me fall back until I make sure I gather all the information. Or maybe it's just smart to not say nothing. Because emotional intelligence and emotional agility is the most powerful thing an entrepreneur can have. And your mental health is important. Your mental health, having patience for the people around you. I don't know if you see what's going on. Like, motherfuckers are driving like they're like crazy. Like, they do not want to be in the line. They just want to go. So, like, the propensity to want to be like, you're wrong, stop it, you're breaking the law. Just let all of that go and take your own deep breaths and be patient, because a lot of people are suffering. You know what I'm saying? I went to go drop my daughter off at school. She goes to school in Piedmont. So I'm pulling up to the little line. Me and my daughter having a good old time slapping music. So we playing 50 Cent. If I was your best friend, you. And so we having a good old time. She's liking the song. And as I pull up, this old guy walks across the street and knocks on my window. And I'm like, I wrote on the window. He's like, yeah, we have an ordinance in the neighborhood that you can't play music that loud. Can you turn your music down, please? So I looked at him and I just pointed to walk away. Just go. And he looked at me and turned around and walked away. I rolled up the window and we kept on slapping our music, right? But I'm like, a couple good lessons though from that. But
sorry, that was great. Sorry.
A couple good lessons from that. But people going through it. And if you quick to flash, to do something, then you be one of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, thank you, Big. I give you a second. I just need a second to recover because I keep wanting to laugh. So with that being said, we're going to jump into this class. This is going to be now, in this class as we move forward, feel comfortable to ask questions at any point. Now, only time we might say, just let me finish the point and then I'll get to you. But feel comfortable to ask questions because I want this to feel more like a conversation in many stages more than just a monologue. 2, when you present a point, try to look at your watch, keep it under a minute because I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to participate. I don't want you to replace court. And so, because oh, y'all see him with his glasses? I can't stop laughing at him because he's being hilarious today with his glasses. So
Hilarious. I'm seeing. That's what's
he like he never saw before. Like, wow, that's HD.
it is HD.
So just like I said, I want you guys to feel comfortable having a conversation. 3 is don't over leverage right versus wrong. If you're learning something new, I'm going to have to make you uncomfortable. But 2, you have wisdom. So even when you're sharing your view and your angle, there's wisdom and there's value in it. Even if you just happen to be extremely on the wrong side of the fence, there's knowledge still from us to gain from that. So I'm not going to try to make it seem like everything you say is just right? Because that could feed the wrong message. But your participation in like why you feel certain things or how you're processing certain things, there's no single profile on the perfect student. And so as you guys add diversity by sharing your stories, it allows us to broaden our lens, improve our teaching, and show it better, okay? So that being said, let's go to the first slide. Did anybody get a chance, raise of hands, anybody get a chance to see listen to the podcast? Got 1, 2, just 2, just 3. Okay, that's how we do it now, Kaja. Wait, did you see Kaja though? Yeah, that's good. So you guys didn't get a chance to see the podcast for the homework for the book. Yeah, so there's a podcast for the book, which kind of frames the experience you're about to have with the book. It was based on a book, The Science of Stuck by Britt Franks. It was a podcast from You Are Not So Smart. So it's only a few people that got a chance to listen to that. Okay, let's try to jump a little bit forward so we can have some space here. Did anybody get a chance? Did anybody start reading that particular book? Let me see. Hands went up on the book. Yeah, and I would suggest go back and listen to the podcast because the book is a very narrow category. It's about stuck only. If you read the book for absolute mental health, mental balance. Okay, for example, imagine I wrote a book on how to not get stuck in the mud, right? Then you go down the road and your engine overheat, and you say the book didn't cover that. No, I wrote a book about how not to get stuck in the mud and how to avoid mud puddles, right? And if you focus that book on what is its goal, you'll see the value of the book. If you try to have the book apply as it's a hospital for like general health, the book just doesn't have enough weight for that. And so, for example, Britt Frank, there's 3 levels to it. Britt Frank was a drug addict on meth. Then Britt Frank went to school and got a degree in psychology and neuroscience. And then Britt Frank also has a full-time practice. Her job is, how do I get you unstuck? Britt Frank also still has a therapist of her own, and she's on mental health meds. So she's saying, no, this is not replacing that. Some of you guys are in deep, deep level of oppression. I used to work before I worked for AAA, I had the worst jobs. And I never made enough money. It was always I was just like, if that drawbridge was opening or raising up, I was just getting over every month, just like shoelaces, right? And one of these days, all of a sudden I got a job working for AAA doing tow service. And they paid me, at the time, would probably be like $35, $40 an hour a day. And all of a sudden, I had money to eat. I had money to save. I was paying rent without excuses, without conversations, and without negotiations every month. It was bad, y'all. You have no idea how bad it was, right? And I think the second month of having enough to eat and being comfortable, my brain came online. Before then, I was in full hustle mode, and I couldn't think, process, analyze. Even when I analyzed information, I was only able to let so much through that pipeline. Why am I telling you this story? If you might be in a deep funk, and really you might need some more, even greater support to this class. Some of you guys might be in a funk, and you can't give a person in a funk a lot of information. You got to keep it simple. And if you notice in her book, you might say, oh, this seems simple. It's because Shakina said it best in a conversation earlier today, and hopefully she jumps into it. And I want you guys to we're going to take about 20 minutes for you guys to give me feedback on podcasts. Tony, if you want to share anything about the other podcasts as well. But we want to just move the microphone around the class and let you guys kind of carry the space for a few minutes. But Shakina said it best. If trauma is being overwhelmed, and then I give you a lot of information that overwhelms you, that's a bad combination. When you're overwhelmed, you need simple shit to get you started. Now, once you grow, I'll give you an example. There was somebody in class, they were so overwhelmed that I tried to help them in their trauma in the early stages. So then they use simple stuff to get to, like, I would say a ledge, not the top, not mid-level, just a ledge to get footing. And then they were able to get into the deeper practices, like forgiveness, meditation, exercising, dieting, sleeping. They got, all those things are much more valuable. But when they were at the bottom, it's like talking to a Tasmanian devil. Anything you say can go wrong. Anything you can say go wrong. Give you one more example. Then I'm gonna open up the floor. And Shabisha, please participate. This week I had another crazy experience. So I'm in my kitchen, cleaning up the house. I got a lot on my mind, right? Because there's a lot of opportunities coming in for Fight to Media. There's some changes happening. There's some family challenges happening. Like, there's a whole bunch of shit just happening. My daughter's sick. It's just like woo, 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 from every possible angle. So I'm in the kitchen doing basic shit, and I'm starting to get irritated. Like, I'm literally getting irritated. And everyone's like, say this bottle's not where it's supposed to be. I'm like, fuck, this bottle's not. Fuck is this? God damn, it's fucking microphone, right? And then I start hyperventilating a little bit, like, and all of a sudden I realize, I'm not here. I'm not present. I'm so in my fucking head. I'm in the story while I'm in the present physically, but my brain is over here. And my brain was so far over here that now anybody in my space is about to be victimized, even though they ain't did shit to me. If you just offered a little bit of friction. So I had to stop and say, oh shit, you being overwhelmed, bro, stop. Bring myself back to the moment, right? Someone could call that meditation. Or I literally stop and be like, be here. Just be right here. All of a sudden my breathing changed. All of a sudden the anger went away and my focus came back. Many of you guys would tell me when I would ask you guys, hey, how come you didn't read? Oh, I've been busy this whole week. But if I sat down and calculated those hours, we're down to 2 days. What happened to other days? It's because between the times you did something and you was in your head, leaving the world, dealing with the trauma or the stress or the ideas over here, you lost 3 hours on a 1 hour project. And the sad part is when you looked up, you realize I didn't get shit done. And then when I try to talk to you about it, like I said, I was talking to Jasadi, which Jasadi is not the person, but I'm going to use Jasadi since he's the person I pick on all the time. So if he goes home and says, I always picks on me, you're motherfucking right. So say Jasadi, I say, Jasadi, why did you get that shit done? And then I say, well, Jasadi, that's only 3 hours. Well, no, you don't understand. We all get defensive. And we're not really defensive because we're really trying to protect that part of ourselves. We really lost ourselves. So we just feel like you're attacking me. And so there's these in-between gaps. I'm looking forward to the book, really bringing our attention, our awareness to it, right? And it's that when you recognize, which that was a stuck moment for me, because I could have caused damage to a decision I could have made, argument in the family, broke some shit, right? Because I was literally like, oh, okay, this. And I just say, wait a minute, but I'm right here. If you don't calm your ass down, bring it down, brother. Bring it down, son. Bring it down. Breathe it down, right? And then I started rubbing my hand on the texture, just kind of like looking at things close to me and said, okay, I'm back. And that's such a subtle, it wasn't like a lever flipped and I took off. It was so soft and subtle, and you just there.
The complexities of being a human being. Like, scientists have still not figured out the human brain. They haven't. They say this is how far we have gotten, and here's
right.
what we found. We've named it this and this and that and that, but big picture, we only know a slither of a % of what's going on in human brains. So it's A, extremely complex. It's B, us humans haven't even figured it out fully yet. So every human being has something unique about them on how they need to get to that baseline starting point to be 100% their best selves. And it's different for every one of us. Our brain sizes are bigger. Some of us have higher IQs. Some of us have lower IQs. Some of us are more kinesthetic. Some of us are more mental. There's all different types of complexities in each and every one of us humans. So that's why it can't be prescription medicine. Like, everybody in this class do these 5 steps, and all your mental health gonna be good. It just doesn't work. The beauty of what we're saying, and the beauty of a lot of these books, including this one, is that the goal is for it to work for you. I don't give a shit what you do, as long as it works for you, meaning it brings you to 100%. And if you ain't messing with it over here, but you have a different practice that gets you to these steps, then that's beautiful for you. And that's I think where a lot of us get lost. Now, if we want to generalize us as black folks, right? As he talked about earlier, which is so true, is a lot of us been through hella shit. We've been through hella shit. And not only have we been through hella shit, just to be on what we call level playing fields, we have a lot of bandwidth that's taxed in a lot of ways just operating in America, right? Black women being devalued and having to navigate through that. Black boys, black men having to navigate through their position in society on how to be their best. So you taxed bandwidth wise. So as he was saying, the sliver of space that you have to really go for it and process is smaller. So the question is always, how can I get more of myself? How can you get more of yourself? And there's steps in the book that if you just need quick licks for you to get yourself unstuck, then do it. Use it. And if it don't work, then it don't work. You have to own it, though. Can't no book on this planet, you read it and then you good. You got to own it. You got to try it. You gotta process it. You gotta say, hey, I tried A and man, it worked, or it didn't work. Reading the book don't do shit. It don't do nothing. So the question is, how bad do you want it though? Like, how bad do you want it? Like, how bad, like, if your life is like super lit, right? Your life is super lit and everything's good, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationship-wise, everything is popping off. The exact is how you want it to be, then that's one thing. But if it's not, and shit ain't how you want it to be in any one or all of those areas, then you got to ask yourself, how bad do you want it? And what are you willing to sacrifice in order to get it? Not just reading the book, but sometimes you got to make certain things your religion in that moment. That's what I call it. It might be too harsh of a word. But if I'm having mental health issues, which happens to me,
All of us. All of us.
I'm reading a book about how to be stronger mentally, and I'm resonating with the book, that book becomes my religion for that moment. Oh, you want me to do what? Okay, let me write this down. Okay, let me write it down again. And I try that shit. Like, so I just want to give you guys that forward to say, do not spend time in this class thinking this part of it is what is going to be it for you. The most influential, effective part of the class is when you at home by yourself listening or reading, and then you say, oh, okay, it says try X when this all right, and I'm gonna go try it.
All right, so let's open the floor for anybody that wants to comment. And go ahead, preacher. Hey, Pastor Chris, Shakita's about to be the new preacher. Go ahead.
I love this book. This is hella loud. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, just go a little closer. Still gotta get closer.
Well, it's very loud.
That's okay. You'll be okay. Yeah, I like you at a club. Turn up.
Check 1 2 1 2. Okay. Okay. I read the whole book, so I'm gonna try to stay in like the first quarter of it. But this is seriously in my top 3 of like the thousands of books that I've read. Because of how she hits surface levels on very big ideas and makes them into bite-sized pieces that are not only easy to understand and have actionable steps, but that are also easy to disseminate and teach others in a simplified language. Just in the few weeks that I've read this book, like I've been able to help half my gym members transition their results, the way they're thinking about their health and fitness, and even my daughter, like being able to show her a different way of showing up. And like in the first, like the biggest things that are standing out to me of bite-sized pieces that are easy to share with other people are that chapter on how to human, ooh baby, and just like, you understand me, like embracing yourself and it, understanding and accepting that everything you see, feel is normal based on what you went through, and then figuring out how to make a path forward. Like that is so fire, and that chapter really grounded, I know you've said it in previous years, but forced me to get into an authentic, curious space. Because when I started being like, for me as a business owner, it's really hard sometimes to see the customer's point of view because I have to protect profits, function, flow, business, overhead. There's a lot of things that are going on in my head. So it's very easy for me to be like, you're falling out of line, and it's too much out of line, so I gotta either whack you back in a place or we gotta cut you because we only have so much bandwidth for disarray. And what this taught me how to do was not only to have better retention and communication with my members, but it also taught me how to see them better so that I can serve them better. And clients have been just like, yo, you just better. Like they just like saying random stuff like you're just better. And it's just because I'm like asking better questions, hearing them, seeing them, trying to understand when there's a gap because we have a different perception. Yo, tell me how you got to that space. Teach me something, like let me see what you're seeing so that I can understand how to create a solution for that, as opposed to like, this is how we do it and this is why. The other part was shadow intelligence. And that made me think about when you were doing the example of just like being in the kitchen and getting frustrated and getting overwhelmed, and just like realizing that all of us have that time when we're gonna get hijacked, and it's okay to be like, okay, I got off track, and like now that I realize that and I'm aware, what's the best lane back to getting back on track? And like I love the whole shadow snack thing, so I've been like mapping out shadow snacks, like, oh yeah, that's my shit. And then my other biggest nugget was just like how to talk to yourself. Like that was super fire. So man, this book is.
Anybody else? Look at him. You can tell you've been working out. He's faster now.
Thanks, Shasani. Court, a question I have for you based on a statement that came up in our conversation is about how you had success thinking and moving as an individual, right? And how it was hard for you to break that based on the success you had with it. And I find myself, after 2 years of being in class and just having my own initial, touch points on my own endeavors, feeling like I want to work independently, because if people are continuing to feed you consultative lines, I feel like I won't know what have you learned sitting here for 2 years? What's in your natural instinct to do? Like, you need to work individually to see what you've learned, where your strong suits are, where your weak parts are. So I feel myself wanting to work individually so that I can gauge what have you gotten out of this in 2 years.
She asked you a question, not me.
Okay, so I'll say this, holding two opposite thoughts at the same time, right? So this side is working individually. So under the best thing you can do is understand, learn, be the best version of yourself in whatever craft that you're holding. You got to learn. You got to be the best version. And most of the time, most startups and entrepreneurial endeavors, it's just you anyway. You don't have the resources, the money, rarely, sometimes you can start with a partner, but most of the time, even if you do, you're doing the majority of the work. The best place to be, best space to be. But it's not the psychology that you hold. You hold a corporation psychology while you're by yourself. So the foundation of what you're building, hey, right now, I have a 40 employee company right now, and all 40 of those slots are filled by me. And the moment I have bandwidth, opportunity, money, investment, profit, anything, the first thing I'm going to do instead of pocketing that money or going to spend it or buy some shit is hire another person. So now what you make, what you lose in spare money, you make in time, which now, because time is the most valuable asset, you can spend that time scaling your business. And now 3 employees are 40, now 4 and 5. And then next thing you know, 4 or 5 years later, it's 40 of y'all. Now, the problem with most of us entrepreneurs is we think, I got to do it all myself. And then when profit comes in, you instead of investing that back into your company or into an employee, you spend it or you save it, and then you go back to just doing shit yourself. The problem with that is it's only 24 hours in a day. And that shit ain't scalable and sustainable. What happens when you fall out? What happens when you fall out, or you get sick, or you want to go on vacation, or you just mad as fuck that day, or you stuck and now you depressed, you hit depression, or you had to break up with your dude and now you need that 2 weeks of recovery time, and you built that business all yourself and with no help. Now your company your company tanks. Boom, you just lost. So the money you thought you saved by not hiring, you just lost. So you have to think with scalability in mind. Even if you just doing one little lemonade stand, you think with scalability. Every single year I've been in business, I've not took the money and pocketed it. I was like, oh shit, as soon as this money is a part-time employee, and this is a full-time, okay, and full part-time employee, full-time, and, because guess what? It's power in synergy of people.
Oh my God.
So the synergy of other people is powerful. No one even knows how it works, because 1 + 1 in real world equals 2, right? But when you put 2 things synergistically together that have energy, it doesn't equal 2. Like if you put one horse who can carry maybe 5,000 pounds. You put 2 horses, you think 10,000 pounds. No, it's like 20,000 pounds, because the synergy and energy of them working together. And that's that, like, success and power is in human communities working together. So you always got to reframe and start with that scalability in mind.
Tight.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to say,
Yes, not first.
Kaja just took my question. Because I swear that's what I was about to ask. Few things. So I'm only on chapter 5 of the book, but that book is very, very good. It's heavy good, like a weight, like heavy weights that are helping you get bigger. I called you earlier and we're talking about that. Charlize and I had an amazing conversation about the book. It's a very, very impactful book. And so it's a lot to take into, by the way, because I was listening to it today. I'm on the humaning chapter. And there are moments that reminded me of when I first read Ego is the Enemy. I was like, ooh, shit, fuck, how am I going to deal with this shit, fuck. But I realized that it's because of my experience here in Hope that I'm allowed to actually accept and digest what the book is saying because I'm listening to the Audible. And I hope as I read more into it, I'm able to digest it. But I just want to put that out there that it's an amazing, amazing book, very impactful. I did want to ask you guys a few things about the other podcast, which was Kaja's podcast. And I want to
By the
give
way, Kaja did a
Kaja
bunch of
kudos.
shit.
That podcast, you guys did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And Kaja, your voice
real
is...
quick before
Yeah.
and shout out to Brandy too, who wrote the article.
Shout out to
about
Brandy,
Hope.
too.
you should-
Oakside,
Brandy,
yeah,
I don't know if
man.
you guys got a chance to read
Where's
Brandy's
she at?
article.
Is she here tonight?
Oaklandside.org.
Yeah.
And she wrote an article about the Hope program. I had no idea how many people was reading Oaklandside.org because I got
Oh,
so
yeah.
many emails from people I don't even know. So to Kaja and Brandy, much love. Like I always said this, and I'm waiting for time to prove me wrong. But if it wasn't for women, 510 Media wouldn't be who they are. But go ahead.
No, that's dope. Yeah, big shout out to Brandy. Yeah, I would say Kaja did an amazing job. You guys did an amazing job. Your voice is amazing, too, by the way.
Coming from
all right.
a fellow voice guy, your voice is amazing.
Yeah.
That's
He
a
said your
big
voice
compliment.
amazing.
That's
Well,
a
you know.
compliment.
So, a few things. So, 2 compliments into my question. I really appreciate the fact that you guys were very open and showed a lot of vulnerability. Knowing you for almost a decade now,
Yeah.
I thought that was almost one of the most vulnerable times I've ever heard you, Nana.
Oh, wow.
When you first opened up the conversation and you were talking about your past and who you were and your family and how you lived like this and this and this, I was like, damn, this dude, and it was slow paced. So I was able to listen to it more. You guys were you were very, very vulnerable. And I think everybody should listen to that podcast if they're new to the class to really understand to get an understanding of who Nana is and Court. I thought you did an amazing job with your vulnerability. That allowed me to accept what you guys were saying more, if that makes any sense. Maybe that's the wrong word, but I don't know.
That's right.
So one of my questions was at the 30-minute mark, Court was talking about the technician phase. And you just answered the question, but I'm going to just say it again. I had a question that was like, how long should we spend in the technician phase? Because in the beginning, you are wearing all the hats. And at some point, you have to let that go and hire other people. But how long should you be in that phase in order to learn the different aspects of your business before you go and hire? You don't have to answer that now because you already did. But that was one of my questions because I know I actually like the technician phase, and you mentioned that too on the podcast, Court. I like the technician phase. I don't want to stay there. I don't. I want to be more of a manager, entrepreneur. It's hard to get out of the technician phase, but I don't know how long I should stay there before it's time to move on. But you kind of just gave that answer.
I'm gonna throw one quick thing. It's not just moving on. It's not moving on like you leaving technician and never seeing it again. It's you're all that's your chessboard, It's a chessboard. So you have to move different pieces instead of saying, well, I love being a pawn. I'm just gonna be the pawn. Every time I gotta move, I'm gonna be the pawn. Like entrepreneurship is knowing that there's multiple. This is one thing I want to throw in there though, is that and I learned this from Nana, is you have to be able to also make sure you're taking care of yourself too. Because if you don't make sure in that formula that you have, that you're not putting stuff away for yourself and making sure you're not taken care of, or you don't have reserve for yourself or saving stuff saved, and you're constantly just reinvesting back, then when an obstacle comes or some sort of meteorite hits you, you might be fucked forever.
And last thing I just want to say, Nana, I loved when you said, you said, imagine putting together a puzzle and it never stays the same. It's always changing. That's what entrepreneurship is. I thought that was such a bar because a lot of times people think entrepreneurship or business is, there's a there, you made it. And you had said something about, Court said, take responsibility where you are, but you were like, a lot of people think that when they do something good, that you said we over leverage our success when things are working. So like, oh yeah, I made it, things are working, things are great, I've done this, blah, 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 blah. And you said, but imagine building a puzzle, working on the puzzle, and every day it changes. That's entrepreneurship. And I thought that was such a bar that everyone needs to hear, because this is a playing field that is always changing. Nothing is the same. So, great job. That's all I want to say.
Right on. Shakina said something earlier. I'm going to steal her bar. Says she's in the bathroom. We should come back and tell her I didn't say it. She said, water is a source of life, but if it stays still too long, it's toxic. Shakina, that's what Tone Vic. Anyway, go ahead. I just saw her. Oh, okay. Well, nothing. Just nothing. Have a seat. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I did start on the book. Like you said, it is intense, but I think it's also because we have been going through this kind of like language, getting into this language and experiences through the last few years that we're grasping it at this intense moment. But it is also, it does have the way it could break it down into like very simple tasks. Because when she was talking about balance, looking at balance more as a dynamic mobile system and how to integrate that, and then how to like redefine your merit, I was like, oh, this is kind of like, it's catching. I get what she's saying as far as how that unstuck comes from, and like bringing back to the like technician part and being unstuck, that definitely, I can see the correlation in how we're going back and forth between Sarah's pies and should I pop a pill today? That's basically what I was feeling reading that book. I'm like, it's either a pie or a pill today. That's how we're looking at this. But I mean, she nailed in the first like intro when she said, what do you have to gain by staying stuck? And I was like, that's pretty much why I come to class, because there's nothing to be gained by if the puzzle's always moving, especially like the way innovations move. It's kind of like once you master something, it's usually obsolete by then. So you can't hold on to those old ways of doing it. They might offer some kind of rule of thumb on how to engage and move something forward or the needle forward, but like you said, it's still water after some point.
Yeah, that's tight.
Yeah, AI is on your ass. It just passed the bar. It just passed the MBA. Like now it just passed the top medical exams.
Oh, the AI did?
Chat GPG. Just passed the bar. Yep. The top test for MBAs now. So next is PhDs. The bar exam to be a lawyer.
It hasn't litigated in court yet, though. So that's let's not get ahead of ourselves.
If you're already crying, don't hire GPT as your lawyer.
Right? Let's not, don't get too crazy. Michaela Online said that she loves that Brit explains how and why we feel certain ways, and then gives solutions or practices to try to fix it in the moment. So I've already talked to Nana probably about like 10 hours on this book in full transparency.
Yes.
So here's, I think, what I love about us reading this book first is that we get, if we want to be honest about what's going on with us without having to like dress it up or make it seem like every moment of everything that I'm doing is always on a 10. Because you're a human every day, but you still do brilliant shit, right? That like everything that you've ever done has never been because you were perfect. This has just never happened. And so it's bringing that into the reality of whatever it is that you're trying to lead or build or create. And so for what my first go round in the book that I'm getting, which is like, what do you get from being stuck? And the armored answer would be, I don't get anything, so I can just move on. The real answer is, sometimes I don't have to do things that I don't want to do because they challenge me and I don't know if I'll be able to do it. That's the answer that I feel very comfortable saying now, because it doesn't change anything about my brilliance. But what it does is it doesn't have me spend a whole lot of time kind of slowly chipping away at my self-esteem and my self-confidence, because I don't really tell myself real shit about where I'm at. So for me, there's a simplicity in this. I don't have to read another book or do another thing or know another definition. I just have to do the human shit. I don't have to memorize anything. I just need to do the work of connecting to myself to get unstuck in the moments, and it's the small thing. So to me, the book brings you back to yourself, and for me, the book is the reminder, or maybe for the first time, hearing that your ability to do anything is not about you being able to know any fancy words or any fancy things. It's about your ability to be honest enough with yourself to get on the board. Right? It's like Monopoly. I played a lot of kids games, and it's like all I'm trying to do is like, what's the game that you got to roll a couple to like get on the board before you get? Sorry, thank you. I couldn't think about it. It's like, it's not Monopoly, so it has to go around, and you got to get a certain number before you get on the board. To me, that's what stuck is. You're just trying to get on the board. So that's been my experience of it, and I think I really appreciate the simplicity. Like, business is a human institution. It's created by humans. Most of the stuff we do is human. That's what I learned from Nana in a way I didn't learn from my MBA class, because MBAs, they teach you a lot of skill, which obviously ChatGPT can do. but whatever skill, there's a human behind all of that, right? And so knowing how to understand that there's a human behind the title, there's a human behind the skill, there's a human here, and it matters what's going on with me before I can quote a definition to something. It matters, my own awareness matters, and my own awareness is like the number one thing that's gonna affect my execution of anything. It's not about knowing all of the things. It's about knowing yourself enough to be able to execute, and when you can't execute, to have something that can give you a small win so that you don't beat yourself up. And this book is like full of small wins. And the best thing about this is, like, I did a lot of personal development, self-help reading, and it's not that, I think that, not to put anything bad on there, there's just limitations. And there's a distortion in there that says that you get to a certain point and then you never deal with these things ever again. It's a really difficult bias to break, because that's not true. That's like saying, I drink water today, I'll never need water again. I pee today, I never have to pee again. That you're gonna live in the world, and so you'll need, like, small things has more impact than big things, and I used to be a really big things kind of person. So I really appreciate the quality of the tool, I guess is what I'll say.
Right on. Okay, go ahead, Shia.
Sorry. Not sorry, actually. I'm gonna stop apologizing when I don't mean it. One of the things that I think was also super valuable about the book was when she leaned into accepting, like, like your position and where you felt and how you felt it, and how being stuck has a benefit. Because if you think about every quote unquote failure or roadblock that you've ever come across in your life, most of them are from spaces of shame and guilt and not acceptance and not feeling good enough, which is understandable because you didn't get the desired outcome. So, but what I enjoyed about how she presented this part of the book was that it's okay to feel all of the things you feel. Matter of fact, it's natural, and you'd be unhuman if you didn't feel the feelings. Like, all feelings are relevant, just like in like emotional agility, like good, bad, ugly, whatever. But it's more important to embrace feeling all of those feelings and removing the shame and the guilt, because oftentimes in business or just in life, we are staying stuck because of the benefit of being stuck. I was having a conversation with Nana, and just like full disclosure on my side, like I've absolutely experienced in the 8 years of running a brick and mortar so many periods of stuck. And they always were across the board. Some of it was financial, some of it was emotional, some of it was numbers, but there was all these different points in my life and my business of transitioning to, for me, what I felt like was real business, because I had a very real overhead, very real rent, very real, so for me, it got real when I opened a store. And there was all these points where I brute forced things because I just grew up with the story of, I done been through hella shit, tough love works for me, I could just thug it out, like, I'm not gonna be able to get over this. Come on now, I done been homeless, raped, all kind of stuff. Like, if I can't push through this little hump, what does that say of me? I had this really toxic storyline that made the very toxic cycle of brute force and just do whatever it takes in my business. And one of the things that I thought was so valuable about this book is it taught me how to like accept that I stayed in those places for as long as I did, because it was protecting me from the uncertainty that I didn't know what the hell was gonna happen if I moved out of that space. And at least I could see, or I figured out how to bootstrap, bubblegum, chew, stick it, tie it around, and I could figure out how to at least survive in that toxic space, but I knew what to expect. And I had mastered how to like live in the gutter. But that fear of growth, even though in my head that's what I wanted to do, was to grow, that scarcity and that risk aversion was real high. It was way scarier for me to step out on a ledge and believe in myself than it was safer for me to stay in the mud that I knew what was in there. And so just the humanization, like, of especially, like, I'm sure so many of us in this class that are either entrepreneurs or wanting to be, you're probably the leaders of your circles or the up and coming leaders of your circles. And we get sold this superhero story of like, you gotta have it all together. You gotta like have all the answers. You gotta be able to like shake it off and do it. And I'm not discrediting that, like, you do have to be resilient, but guess what? You're gonna bust your ass and fall. And as long as you are taking that fall with a grain of salt and saying, okay, what I learned from this? All right, how do I try to build in some reinforcements and redundancy so I don't have this happen again, or get better at it the next time I face it? And I think just the humanization process of this book is so fire, and just really embracing that stuck has safety built into it. And a lot of us are afraid to remove our safety nets. Just like when you leave your job and you go start a business, there's a safety net that comes when you get into a certain level of business because you have predictability. And so this is just fire. It tapped into that for me, and it was.
One more online while the mic is going. Is Ray Rose online?
What's his name?
It's Ray Rose, but I think that might be a
Smooth as
nickname.
hell. Is he really that smooth?
I don't.
Rose.
It's Ray Rose. That's what it say on
That
here.
shit is clean as hell. Go ahead.
So,
hey, I would wear his clothes or her clothes. I know this is a woman or male.
I'm not sure.
But anyway, whoever it is, I wear their clothes. That name's so smooth.
They said connecting to self is powerful, but it also requires a level of honesty that isn't always easy.
There you go. There you go. And then she talks about that. Like if you listen to her podcast, one of her key points, one of her keys to really getting this book is you got to be honest. You got to be honest. Like I know people. I'm trying to stay away from names and identities, but I know a person their whole life have always suppressed their thoughts and their feelings. So if they were mad at you, they held it in. They didn't like something, they held it in. But I'm getting to that in a minute. But your brain is a cold-blooded animal, and the more you suppress and you don't talk about things, and then the person started lying, and after a while, their brain got away from them and built a whole new world over here because of too much suppression. And so self-honesty, and sometimes like just talking to people, like me and Court have a lot of self-honesty with each other. And it's a vulnerable space, but it keeps us here. But if we get to a point we get into this like, you've been in a club and like, I'm a boss, right? People do that every day to themselves, not just a club, like the club, like a rapper. But we do this where we start telling ourselves so many stories. We hear, like I did when in the kitchen, I'm here, but my brain is gone. And I can't even see the opportunities to capitalize on a moment because I'm gone in the stories I've layered on top of each other because I suppressed so much. And your brain is the greatest liar. Like she says it in the book. Your brain is the greatest liar of all time. It lies to you in a second to protect you. And so at the end of the day, it's like, you ever talk to somebody in the hood and they be like, yeah, they trying to get me out here. That person's going through some shit. They're not crazy. They're going through some shit. And that's how they cope with the shit they're going through, by telling themselves stories. And if they don't have an outlet, somebody's like, no, actually, brother, you're not really, you're by yourself right now. But if he doesn't have that voice or someone to bounce those ideas, or he or she is not brave enough to show up to that moment, then you become a victim of your own suppression. So it's powerful as fuck.
Hey, that's a good point. I was just thinking about the tools to get to honesty and some of the things that prevent you from getting there. One is guilt. So if you was raised around anybody who had some sort of pseudo-Christian background, mama or daddy, then we probably didn't get a lot of tools around how to manage our sexual energy or drugs, mischievousness, breaking the rules, breaking the law, any of those things. It was immediate straight to guilt. So it made you feel guilty. So if you was like me growing up, then you got hella good at hiding shit. Hella good at hiding shit. Like my mother did not know I cussed like a sailor at school because I was good at not slipping at home, right? So you almost have these two personalities because your brain is really good. Almost have two personalities, right? They thought I had Tourette's at school, but when they came to the house, I was perfectly, right?
What is going on with this guy?
So you would like, so our bodies will respond to whatever we train it, and so the guilt is as you get to be an adult, you don't even have your parents over your head no more. You live in your own life. You're a grown ass woman or a grown ass man, but you still will feel guilt around just being human. So the propensity to not want to be objective with yourself or honest with yourself, it just comes from practice of all those years. So you start to compartmentalize and lie to yourself about shit, and it's hard to open that because in your brain you're thinking it's a closet with hella skeletons in it and all, but really that closet is just human, and everybody in your neighborhood got the same shit in the same closet, right? So
all races.
All races, all cultures, everything.
Yeah, it's not a black thing.
It's not. Yeah. So, but once you get comfortable with who you are, the good shit, the bad shit, the weird shit, the nasty shit, then that allows you to be honest with yourself and have an honest conversation with yourself to be like, man, well, I like that. Well, why do I like that?
Y'all remember I used to say some of y'all mamas are Cardi B?
It's true.
No, but that book.
That's how y'all got here.
When you get to a certain section of the book, she's going to talk about that. That once you realize your mama's just a human, your daddy's just a human, and they come from the same oppression, the same old fucked up world, same old challenges. We turn them into gods. We turn them into flawless. And here's the power. When you can accept their flaws, you can accept your own flaws. It's when you can't see their flaws, you're beating yourself up the same fucking way.
So you gotta let it. You experienced this life as a human, and it's all facets. And when you learn to accept yourself for who you are and love yourself for who you are, now you can start having honest conversations about it, and with other people, free of judgment. And that's the key to get you there. That's the key to get you there.
Just quick, because I come from that religious background. I understand that breaking point, because I used to have, I call it like the fear of ending up in the back room. He knows what that means. And that did carry a long time. We did have separate I'm just now telling my mom some of the stuff I was doing under the belt. But it took a long time to break away from that, where I was like, this isn't my religion anymore, so why am I still holding these beliefs that I'm going to end up in some kind of back room? I don't know what that means. Why am I still, if you got in trouble at church, that you end up in this back room with a talk with the elders. And nobody liked to do that, and it's very traumatizing. So that still was always playing in my head, even though I hadn't been going to church for years, that I was somehow in that loop before I just didn't give a shit no more.
I wish y'all could see online right now. But since y'all can, I'm gonna try to bring y'all into the party.
Okay.
Jeremy said he had ditto on the going to church and developing the skill to hide stuff. Said he's done a lot and he's unlearned a lot of that. But he said, to be honest, I'm still in that. Still unlearning that. But the only way to improve is just like admitting when something's up and then dealing with and living with that.
By the way, just even him sharing that shows growth. I want you guys to pay attention to what Jeremy, you said was, right?
Yeah.
So what Jeremy just shared in that moment, people what Court just highlighted and we all circled around and Shakina introduced, is you can't get to that point of just saying that, because your brain is already telling you, I can't say that because I will create a vulnerable space for myself and I'm uncomfortable with that. And so then you just continue to layer more and more on top of that. So Jeremy's already showing progress in just his simple testimony. Go ahead.
So a couple of people know about them elders, Charlize. They high-fiving you from the computer. The one thing that I would say, they like, yes, I left them too. The one thing that I, would say is, I'm gonna say it, and then if it come off wrong, y'all tell me.
Okay. Wrong. You don't know.
If it come off.
Yeah, we clowns. Go ahead.
Right? So many of us have gone to church. We've come through some sort of something, right? So whether it be our families or religious things or like all of the things. And just going back to something Shakina said, which is like the story of like, I come from this, I come from this, I come from this, right? And what I love about the book is like it acknowledges where you come from and then it gives you the tools to get on the path to where you're trying to go. Because you don't want to live a life that's like some shrine to what you come from, right? So there's like, this is who I am because I come from that, or this is what I came from, so now I do this. But the reality is that you get to choose whatever your narrative is now. That's the point of this book, which is to get not like just stuck from the life from like wherever you are, and then to only get stuck in I used to. I'm saying like this bull is dope, and it's like the tool to say, well, this is what I want to be doing. This is what I want to be doing, and to be focused on that, because there's all of these little detours that we can take along the way to going wherever we want to go. And we become a thing of like, we go from identifying from being the thing to identifying from being a person who used to do the thing, when those are just experiences that you had. You can be, the point is to be whoever it is that you say you want to be, now that it's on you and you get to decide. Not to have to always be checking back to what you used to do as if that's the measure of who you are, because it was just the experience that you had. And I think that that's what I get from the book as well.
Oh, we done went to class number 2. I'm gonna let that one sit with y'all because that was fire. Go ahead, Tone. You put the tone in. Wait, Tony, we start off with a.
Yeah, because
Well said, Shabisha.
Shabisha just said something that triggered a lot of thoughts, and then I wanted to say something earlier that Shakina had triggered too. But in all honesty, I think one of the reasons why I like and am also afraid of this book is because I know that I'm still stuck in certain areas. Certain areas I've learned to be unstuck, and I do attribute that
And you come a long way, bro.
I attribute that to you in court, to coming to Hope. I attribute it to my tribe, Lise and Friends of Hope.
Least putting up with your ass.
Oh man, it's been 2 decades with this girl, this woman. So, and I'm proud of her. I love her. And you know what? And that kind of goes to what I'm about to say. It's like, I know that I'm still stuck in certain areas because I'm afraid of how it's gonna make other people feel. Ooh. And you just said something about earlier. You was like, these books, fuck these books, because you got to do the work, right? And that's totally true. And when I was listening to the book earlier, I was like, damn. But it's still up to me to do the unsticking work, right? And the areas that I'm not good at getting unstuck is because I care too much about how other people feel. Even in business, I always want to be like, we want to make sure that X, Y, and Z is. So let me stay in this stuck position because it's making me comfortable and because I'm safe here. But I got to learn how to not give a fuck and stop caring about what other people.
It's in the book. Huh? It's boundaries. It's called Boundaries. You haven't gotten there yet.
Nah, so I ain't there
when you
yet.
get the boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah,
so maybe I'll get there. But
Yeah.
that's one of the things
That's
I want
real.
to say. Like, as much as I do love this book, I'm just being honest. Like, it's also painful, and I think that's why I like it so much.
Just be aware. Like when you get to about chapter 6, it's almost like you have to take a deep breath. Everybody stops at chapter 6. Everybody's like. And you almost like cannot come back to the book, but then you come back to 7, 8, 9. You're like, oh, that's the way to close out, baby. Matter of fact, on 8, on number 8, she got hooked on 8 and was chapter 8. It was like I'm done with that. I don't know about this no more. Then she read how she set her up. She set her up to go this direction, and it shot her back the other direction. She's like, that's fucking brilliant. She got me, right? Because what she's doing is. She used to be on drugs. So she's like, yo, I went to a lot of programs. I'm just going over the stuff that I use to help my clients. And she says, if some of this doesn't work for you, like Court just said, move on, right? It ain't everybody, the human profile is so complex. If me and Court set up for 6 months and just did all the research we could never come close to mapping even a small percentage of the human profiles, because of our different experiences, right? And that's the beauty of being human. So, but I want to turn our attention to a couple of points. I want to close this out so we'll move to the next one. Because this book, because I want to really say that I'm really looking forward to Shakina and Shabisha driving this book forward. Tone. Thank you so much. He came and called today, and he brought something to my attention. He said, hey, Nana, there's a lot of material here that we've learned in Hope as alumni over years. And so many people may miss a lot of the depth. And so that's why this book is going to be a process. They're going to slowly drive it to give time for you to digest and capture that depth and ask those questions. I want to change the retreat period to more of us working on your strategies and growing your strategies, right? And looking at and using the peers to produce innovation and creativity for your businesses, right? And looking at ways you can manage, taking all this information and how are you applying and how you're not applying it. And I want Shakina and Shabisha to work on this STUCK project, which is going to be dealing with your trauma, your depression, your ADHD, your anxiety, and which leads me to this paragraph, and it says, but you're gonna take over reading in 1 second. But I got it. I take it. I got you. Just stretch out. Next one. Okay. She got a microphone like, I got you, brother. Mental health is not a mental process. Mental health is a physical process. For many of us, it's even our scariest symptoms are not mental illness. Mashama has a famous phrase. He calls it body IQ. Is it the body IQ? I mean, physical. Was it the body IQ?
That might be a new one.
Talk about this body. The body has an IQ. The body. But no. So he talks about the body has its own IQ. Let's say you go through something. Oh, I'll be all right. Y'all know how we get down in our communities. I'll be all right. I'll be cool. My mother taught us as kids, bury that shit, keep it at the house. Don't let nobody in the outside world know about it. Right? But your body don't bury. It doesn't do a good job at all. Just like your body controls your heart and your vital organs, it's responding to outside forces that you do not have conscious control over. Always remember the body has one goal, to keep you alive. He don't care about none of that, care about no success. He don't care about no Teslas. He don't care about shit. He just cares about keeping you alive. So when you tell yourself a television story about how life is for you, your body's paying attention to the world that you're in. And so every time you bury something, your body's going to respond to that. And after a while, your body response gets away from your mental awareness. And after a while, you are betraying your body every day because you're disconnecting your mind from your body. Y'all see where I'm going with this? Now, there's great teachers that taught this forever. There's different paths to get there. But that deep level of introspection, of self-awareness, is so damn critical. The second one, this is one I just really wanted, and maybe Court could chime in. Research indicates emotions are constructed from your experiences. They're neither pre-programmed nor confined to a specific location of the brain. So she's combines neuroscience, and neuroscience came up with this 10 years ago. A lot of psychology, no, emotions are not, oh, this part of my brain causes this emotion. You are so damn adaptable. You're so damn adaptable. This is what causes diversity. This is what causes different groups, different beliefs, different cultures. If you are in certain environments, you're going to adapt. And a lot of times, what we do is we reinforce our adaptation with a label, and then we solidify who we are. We almost brand or tattoo ourselves, a person, because what we do in ourselves is that because like you might say, well, you know, I'm a hard person. Well, let's look at where you came from. Rough environment. I'm kind of naive. That's where you came from. Mother and father who probably overcoddled you. It's okay. None of those things are flawed. But a lot of times we're trying to say what is wrong with us when we're just adaptable. Even, you know, men are more emotional, women are more emotional. If you go around the world, it changes based upon the environment. In India, women are the coldest killers. Women will kill you that fast for breaking some goddamn rules. We're out here, men are mass killing that fast for breaking those rules, right? And so what I'm saying is like, we're such an adaptable animal. And so even when you go back in human history, you're gonna realize a lot of shit gonna change. Like, wait till you find out that the Egyptians are only 4 feet tall. Like, what the hell? They were 4 feet tall, meaning Shakira is a giant. Okay, that's the last short joke. I ain't told a short joke in 7 years. What is this that? But Shakira, when we first met each other, I was telling, like, I used to say she was a sitter on a midget basketball team, right? And she used to hate me. So I ain't told a joke because she like gave her eyes used to cut my shoulders. And so I haven't told a short joke with her, but the Egyptians were really 4 feet tall. And if you go back to the 70s, look how skinny we were. Human beings adapt. We're always adapting. And that's so important for you to know that. Because even when people try to tell you things about culture, history, your relationships to other people, you're doing comparisons, if you don't know where people come from, slow it down. Slow it down. Like I'm more curious now more than ever when I meet differences. Because differences tell me you have an experience I don't have. Like when I have a friend who's Cantonese and black. She's in class. She's online. And she hella dope because she's hella hood and hella traditional Asian. And the shit be having me fucked up, right? Can speak the language so quick on you with the accent to the point you forget she's a black girl on the phone, but then turn around and talk shit that you forget the Asian was even in her bloodline, right? But she's so different, dope, and so unique, and so brilliant, and so exposed that sometimes I'm forcing her to tell me so much about simple shit because I just want to see how she processes it based upon her complexity of her experience. And she's dealing with two cultures that have unique stories that are very rich, right? So I'm like, whoa, how do you see this? How do you see that, right? I run across somebody, I don't even focus on being right over wrong. When I meet new people and I share my idea, like, well, I see it this way, my brain goes, oh, why? Because, and I think sometimes we get so over anchored in the way we see things, we don't let things come in fast enough. Later on, I'm going to talk about growing your network, and I'm going to break it down in the coldest way you probably ever heard anybody talk about. Like, you probably will never go to another weak-ass networking party ever again when I get through. I'm going to show you how to grow your network every damn day. And in that process, I'm going to show you how you often don't let your network work for you because you're too stuck on the way you see things. You really have to open up. Because even for this book to work, it ain't telling you shit you already know. Some of you, like maybe for him, I don't count him, but it ain't telling you shit you already know. And some of you guys gonna hit that wall and your brain gonna just disconnect that fast. But as soon as you hit that wall, show a curiosity. And if your curiosity says it's still not for you, that's what it is.
Have you ever, I don't know, maybe in the adolescent, teenage years, have you ever been nervous before something and you had something big the next day? And then you went to sleep and you woke up and you looked in the mirror and you had a big ass pimple? Out of all the times, why did that fucking pimple have to show up right the day I had something big? So you trying to figure out how to fix it, pop it, and it's worse. So then you go where you go, look with a crater of the moon on your head. Because understand this.
I love your stories.
The way the body works, the way the mind works, it's operating for you all the time. With you, without whether you're conscious of it or not. Most of the stuff that's going on in your body right now, you have zero clue of what's going on. The blood that's pumping through your right foot right now, the kidneys that are working for you, the lymph fluid that's flowing through you, that's killing cancer cells right now. You don't have no idea. You don't have to say to your heart, beat, okay, beat. You don't. There's a energy moving through you all the time, and your brain is connected to that. And like you said, it don't care about you mobbing around in the latest car. It just cares about your survival. So when you've experienced things in life, the way your eyes perceive a thing and the way you process it in your brain, you're also communicating to that. That's saying, well, how can I help then? Let me figure it out. Maybe we'll get you sick. Maybe you'll be sick tonight. So that's why when you're congruent with yourself, you have to learn how to know yourself, be honest with yourself in order to heal. And know where it's coming from. Most of our stuckness comes from the stories we tell ourselves. So like you said, Tone, and you said beautifully, is shit, my story makes me look good. Hey, I'm broke because I'm from the hood. And my pops was a crackhead. And you know what I'm saying? I grew up in the turf. So all I know is turf shit. So it's not my fault that I ain't where I want to be. Right? And if you take that story from me, now I'm vulnerable.
Come on now.
Because now I don't have no excuses no more. And that's why a lot of times we say, can't nobody up here change you. Most of the time, the change comes the day you decide to let this story go.
Uh-oh.
I remember having a conversation, and I used to always blame certain things on my past. Man, like, shit, man, you holding on to that story too much. And that's why it's there, and that's why you're getting the result. Man, fuck this story. I don't care if y'all thought I have a silver spoon in my mouth. I'm not telling that story no more. You know what I'm saying? If it's going to prevent me from getting here. So a lot of us, if you're stuck and you've been stuck and you don't want to live this life no more, like, I don't want to be here no more. I've had it. I've had enough. Fuck this shit. You got to say, what you're saying fuck you to is your stories.
Next slide, because that was a good closure. How many of you guys got a chance to go on Miro and create your card? By the way, like yours, fun. fun. Tennille was fun. I think it's somebody else. Shakina built it, so she's always fun. Yo, Shamara, fun. She showed her actual what she does. Listen, for those of you, you know why I didn't give you guys a lot of instructions? So the first year I created Hope, a group of students came to me and they cornered me and they said, Nana, why don't you create a situation where I can meet the other members of Hope? I said, I'm sorry, this is an entrepreneur class, right? I just sat there and looked at them. I just said that. Entrepreneur class, right? They said, yeah. So why don't you create, I said, it's an entrepreneur class, right? So when I gave you guys Miro, I hope that you guys didn't know how to get log into Miro. And I want you guys to be resourceful and drive it and figure it out. Because guess what? Entrepreneurship don't come with directions. There ain't no manuals. Every time you read the manuals, the fucking words change. Chapter 1 turns to chapter 2, chapter 3, and then they rewrite one, like the revision, then they put it in another language, and guess what? You still got to read it. So this week, those of you who came up with whatever excuses in your head why you couldn't do it, this is your first push to start practicing entrepreneurship. Go on Miro. Figure it. If you don't know how to use all your tools. Look, that's what this shit's gonna be as Court, as any entrepreneur. We run into walls all the time. We're going, I don't know, fuck, I'm gonna go. And we start pulling out of our tools. And if you watched us, you think, that was a brilliant solution. We figured that shit on a run. Right? And so just know, I did not give you instructions. I'm still not going to give you instructions because you need to act like an entrepreneur and figure this shit out. This is not a business employment class where you just need to just, follow the procedures that we design, and I got to make sure you understand the orientation. You got an orientation to life, which is hella fucking complex. Go ahead, Sheena.
I was just going to say, I'm not telling you what to do, but I did put a rubrics in the Miro board.
No, that's enough. No. It's there.
All right.
It's there. Like once again, that's how the game is. Figure this shit out. And guess what? Because when you figure out, you're gonna learn something about yourself. You're gonna learn you something. Right? But if you don't practice this whole, ain't nobody about to hold your hand no more. It's over. We ain't about to hold your hand. We about to teach you this game. Now we're gonna hold you. Well, okay. We're gonna walk you through the process, but I ain't going to work with you tomorrow. So you got to figure some of this out, right? There's a combination. It's that dance. Next slide. As Court always says, I'm just gonna blame him today. As Court always says, no, but Court does 100% say this, and he does believe this, and we all do. I'm gonna say this a few more times, and I'm not gonna stay on this one for longer. I'm gonna stay on this for a split second. This is a practice. When you see somebody great in this entrepreneur game, they're not better than you. Turn your envy all the way the fuck down. They're not better than you. They've just been practicing longer than you. And that great person that you're witnessing do those great things, you are them. The only reason you haven't become them yet, I was about to sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. Because you haven't been practicing long enough. That's it. The more you focus and commit to your practice, the more you'll become something you can't even imagine. And take practice just as serious as somebody like Steph Curry or LeBron James takes practice. Get into the science of practice. Don't use your old school. Learn how to practice. Learn how to have good practices. If you practice poorly, you'll perform poorly. And last, because entrepreneurs of practice, always be humble to the game. Never think that you're greater than the game. Elon Musk started thinking he's greater than the game. He started doing too much. And when you get that kind of money, you get that Elon Musk money, that Middle East money. I've been wanting to say that for years. Only black folks say that for New York. I'm sorry. But anyway, when you get that Elon Musk money, yeah, I know. I really want to sing the song, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna let Busta Rhymes do that stuff. But anyway, but when you get that Elon Musk money, yeah, when you get that Elon Musk money, you build envy. Like Jay-Z, he has envy now. When you get some amount of money, society will envy you because people start to say in their brain, well, if you're there and I'm not there, what's wrong with me? So it must be something, you must have did something crazy to get there, right? Just know that he got to a point where he got so strong, he thought he's in front of the game. So he could just start talking the way you want to. And remember, you need the public to achieve what you achieve. So stay humble to this game. Continue to practice. Even at your highest level of success, once you stop practicing, don't blame the competition. Don't blame racism. Don't blame your pets. You stop practicing. It's that simple. Next slide. Any questions about the class before I jump into the lesson for the night? Any questions? No questions about where we going, new students? Ask online if there's any questions about the class online, like where are we going with the class? Am I going to receive this? What can I expect? I want to just take a second because I kind of want to start moving into the process, and I want to leave those who may not stay with us for whatever reasons. I want to give them at least some jewels they could take with them, seeds they could plant and start to grow those things and have impact in their life. Those of you who stay with us throughout, because we have, I think, one more free class. Is it one or two more free classes? And then we're going to go just to the students who paid only. But in those classes, I still want to give as much as I can to the community to reward them with as many tools as possible. So I'm about to jump into this next lesson this is a free class for those who are listening and experiencing hope for the first time. Give them some tools and things they haven't heard before. So any questions real quick? None? Okay. If a question comes up, then we will, you can just stop me at any point and say, I got a question about the class. Like, do the college, or just hit me with one of these.
Nana,
Yeah. Go ahead.
if they get onto Miro and can't figure it out,
What do you want me to tell them?
that's what I want to know.
If they get on the mirror and they can't figure it out, you talking about they dying or something? They got cancer? Like, why would they not be able to figure it out?
Keep trying.
It
Keep
has
trying.
YouTube.
Keep
Yeah,
trying.
there you go.
Keep trying.
Like I'd say, like, because you know what it is? Let me say something that I think court would easily highlight. When you don't feel like you're good enough, you take stopping points as a judgment against self, and you put yourself on trial too much. Stop putting yourself on trial. You good. God made you. You great, and you're the greatest thing in the making. But you will never see your greatness if you keep passing judgment on yourself every time you have a challenge. When you have a challenge, take yourself off trial and say, I just probably need to practice some more, or I got to turn that part of my brain on because it hasn't been used before, or I got to, neuroplasticity, or I got to literally rewire my brain so I can get this now. I've learned things in my life I still can't believe I learned. Still can't believe I learned. And trust me, there's always a hurdle point when it feels like you have to jump over a fucking building. But the more you keep practicing, that building gets down to a fucking pebble. So, and it always hurts the brain. And the reason it hurts the brain is not because it's not crazy. When you read something that's really, really difficult, and the reason it feels like somebody's squeezing your brain or over hugging you or something like this in the brain, it's because you're burning so many calories for the brain, and the brain is sending you a message: you overusing me, baby, right? But you got to keep hitting it. You might have to break back up and get back in it, get back up, and then before you know it, it gets easier. And then once you finally get the groove and you get it, go back and read a book that you thought was amazing before, and you realize, why does it seem simple now? Because you just grew. You developed the brain. So there's growing pains for learning. And no one ever tells us that. It makes us feel like the smart kid's just smart and the rest of us are just fucking don't get it. When really, no, all of us are great. And like, one kid might be excellent at learning about cars, but you try to teach them how to learn about photography and they suck. Right? But guess what? They can learn photography. Do you know I had a hell of a photography career and I can't draw a fucking stick figure? Y'all think I'm bullshit. If I pull my pictures up, y'all be like, you didn't shoot that. You shouldn't have fuck I did.
Look like a 4,000-year-old Native American picture, like sticks, sword, shield.
Oh, I'm horrible, bro. Look, I'd be like, oh, God damn it. Oh, right? But the thing is that I taught myself photography, and I tell myself I can teach myself creativity. And it took me some time, but when I got it, oh shit, I was swinging for the fences, and it paid me really, really, really well. So what I'm saying to you guys is that if you choose it and you put the time into it, there are growing pains, but that's just part of the process. And don't make it personal. Don't start saying, I ain't good at this kind of stuff. Oh, this shit makes me want to pull my eyes out. I ain't never been good at math. Like, cut that shit out. Just slow it down a little bit. Ask more questions. You'd be surprised some of the shit I learned. There's things I've learned before, and I'd be like, God damn, I learned this? I wasn't supposed to. I'm a hood kid. Shit, that don't mean nothing.
I laugh about the capabilities of us humans that we hold ourselves back. Again, we're limited by our stories. We're limited by the stories we tell ourselves. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm not smart enough, I'm not this, I'm not that. I learned this about the NBA. When you're watching the NBA as a kid, you have conceptions in your head about how they got there, right? You think everybody ate, slept, and just breathe basketball to get to the NBA because it's only 400 best players in the world. But when you actually get in that world, you realize it's variance. Some people worked every breathing day to get to the NBA, and they made it, and they're in the middle somewhere, but they worked their ass off. And there's some people in there fucking barely practice. Didn't even really want to go to the NBA. They wanted to play another sport. But they were so naturally good, and it makes you want to pull your hair out, especially if you're the kid who's eat, sleep, and breathing this shit. He had posters on the wall. He visualized it every day and fucking vision boarded it, and he finally made it. When it's a kid that he plays with or against that's a higher caliber player, maybe even an all-star, and he barely show up, barely practice. But what does it matter? What does it matter? Competition says that it should be fair, right? But fuck fair. Fair doesn't exist. It's a myth. As long as you're there. So nobody knows the practice that you have to put in to get to a certain level. It's about, are you there? Are you performing? People comment on how I can take the complex things and simplify it down to people that look like me. You know why? Because I ain't that smart like that. I got to read the book 3-4 fucking times. So after the fourth time, I really got it. Whereas somebody who's smart can just read it, pick it up, and get it. But because I've read it so many times for me to understand it, it allows me to get it. Now, somebody could have been on their fourth book by the time I finished one, but so what? I got it now. What does it matter? Ain't nobody gonna come down and test and say how many times you have to read the book. You're not as good as this person. The bank account is what our grade is. So let's let go of that shit.
wasn't Neil deGrasse Tyson said, when a student cheats, it reflects how much the institution cares about the grade over how much the student cares about learning. Right? And it's like, that's what's going different about Hope. We're not focusing on grades. We're focused on making sure you learn. And we're going to take some of that pressure off, and we're going to add some pressure. But we don't know when our pressure points are different, right? And the pressure point be like, come on, you can do it. Don't. All right, let's do it again, right? But we won't say, oh, Tone, you got a D. Are you taking it serious, right? That's. When this one dude asked me, he's like, no, what do I get from taking Hope?
Oh, I was about to say it. D's.
Anybody from the hood know what the fuck he's about to say. But like, who would you give it to? If I gave you a diploma, if I gave you a PhD in entrepreneurship, who you gonna give it to? Like when you meet entrepreneurs, even investors, I encourage you guys to, this year, try to meet an investor, not to invest in your shit, to learn how they think. Man, they cut through that motherfucking red tape so cold. Oh, they heard all your little stories, destroy all your beliefs, all your emotions. They don't give a fuck. They're playing a probability game, and they're trying to make a profit. They ain't trying to. They're not your minister. And so, but there's a reason. But as an entrepreneur, you need to also see that side, learn how to process the world through those eyes, and you'll see the benefit of that. Yet, it doesn't take away your ability to have a heart and see people, but it's important that you learn it. Next slide. Uh-oh, this is one of my favorites. All right, let me stretch out a little bit. She messed it up. She messed up. This part 2 should be, yeah, it should be, there's no attention time money. Yeah. Yeah, you read it the right way there. So I didn't see it until I just read it on the screen. I was like, oh, typo. It should have been time, attention, money versus money. So money, time, attention versus time, attention, money. So those of you at home, I don't know, just don't look at the screen for a second. Take out the screen. But let me go over this real quick. So we're going to start this foundation. This is important because you're going to hear this a lot as you read all these business books, as we continue to move you towards scaling a larger company business, as we teach you how to become a greater leader. If you were raised in a working class family, if you were raised in the hood, if you're black from the ghetto, if you come with descendants of slavery, it's a very strong chance you value money, your time, and then your attention. Anybody would try to dispute that? Have you ever had that? That's like if you hear a rap song, ain't nobody talking about their time and attention. Talk about their motherfucking money. Cats don't kill you on the streets for mess with their time and attention. They kill you for mess with their money. Entrepreneurs, we believe in time, attention, money. You're like, wait a minute. You say money lasts? I bet you all the pimps have turned me off. Hold on, man. I don't listen to this motherfucker. but you can see them at the barbershop. Oh, shit, he's violating me. Anyway, but this is important. Let me tell you why money, time, and attention is backwards. In business, number one, money is replenishable. It's a tool for growth. If you're not investing it, you're losing it. Money will always replace itself. Money, to many of us, is not really finite. It's just in our head it is. Time is the number one because time is finite. You only have so much time, baby. I don't give a shit how big your dreams are. The one constraint you can never get around is time. So if you don't protect your time, then your ability to achieve things you wish to achieve are automatically compromised. Attention, we kind of alluded to attention for a second. Attention is your bandwidth. What steals your bandwidth from you? Anything that steals your bandwidth is stealing your growth from you. If you lose time and attention, there is no money.
Real quick, can you give them a definition of bandwidth?
Good one. So bandwidth is your brain only has so many resources. Your brain burns so many. Matter of fact, your brains burn more calories than any part of your body. So your body can only burn so many calories a day and only take in so many calories a day. Josiah tries to eat more calories than the rest of us, but that ain't the point. Your body can only take in so many calories a day. So, the reality is that if you're laying in your bed at the house, a car drives by, and it just screeches its tires, your brain just burned some of those calories. If your kids are running around the house, your brain is burning some of those calories because your brain is trying to protect you. So the brain is also trying to protect your children. The brain is saying, oh, if the car screeched, that could be something. Uh-oh, get ready, burns calories, right? The brain burns calories from loud noise. The brain burns calories from any form of thinking. This is why you always like the shortest path to success. This is why a lot of fake business gurus get you, because they come with all these short steps, and your brain be like, oh yeah, that feels good. That feels real good. Then you get in real business, you realize, fuck, these short steps, I need to know what's behind this shit, right? Your bandwidth is when you're reading a book and you're trying to read a book and you can't stay in the book because your brain is gone, that's bandwidth loss. If you don't have the ability to focus, it's bandwidth problems. If you're working on a problem and you get exhausted before you get to the end, that's a bandwidth challenge. Staying in this class is a bandwidth challenge. Self-investment, self-growth, meditation, and motherfucking introspection are bandwidth challenges. A person going to the gym and working out is a bandwidth challenge. You starting to see how bad it gets? You need energy from the brain to do the shit you need to do in life. And if you're constantly low in bandwidth, you find yourself stuck in habits that don't serve you. So in order for you to find new habits in your life, you need bandwidth just to shift or learn or do something different. Like many of you don't move without thinking, right? Let me show you how cold bandwidth, and I'm gonna take it even deeper. This is where I don't think I've ever taught this one. I kind of talked about it, I think, the first class. May have talked about it in the podcast too. If you decide to go to the bathroom right now, your body, without you thinking, will automatically get up and go to the bathroom. You run low enough on bandwidth, you probably will trip before you get to the bathroom. So now you're more of I'm so mistake prone. You have poor management of bandwidth. You're starting to see how this becomes really, really cold?
Mm-hmm. If you get from one place to another and you don't remember getting there, your bandwidth is taxed. And a lot of us has done that. You live in a hood, it's gunshots, this, that. Like humans are wired from history to have to respond to change, because change could mean death back in the day. Any change out in the fields, you see a leaf move, you're wired to put attention on that because that can mean an attack. So all of our bandwidth is constantly being dragged on. Now, if you are on Instagram for 2 hours, you just had your bandwidth sucked.
Oh my God.
And then go to TikTok, then Facebook, and then you got to go to try to do some work, and then you get a brain headache. And you're like, oh, I'm tired. You done used all your bandwidth for bullshit.
So yeah, go ahead. Give a microphone. Josiah. Josiah. He you know, what they call that when you sleepy because you got through eating? You got that?
You got the itis.
Yeah, he over there with the itis, over there rubbing his tummy.
when
My bad. Hey, right there, give her the microphone, man.
No, I was so stuck on what you were saying.
I mean, it's okay, man. It's okay.
Got a bandwidth shortage.
Y'all know Josiah's like a little brother to me, so when I talk about him online, don't be like, he is mean as hell. That's like a little brother. If I don't mess with him, I got different licenses with him. Everybody else, I ain't gonna talk about you. Go ahead.
So, vulnerable space.
So I've realized that my brain functions more effectively in the morning times. So, but not like early morning, like 8 o'clock to like 11 o'clock are my prime thinking hours. And so anytime that I have to do something that requires a lot of bandwidth, I try to fit it in within those hours because my brain is optimal at those hours.
Yes, optimal bandwidth times.
So I'll try to avoid like socials and all that stuff or things that can distract me that are easy to hijack my attention. Is it still a bandwidth suck if let's say like I do all of my stuff, meditations, journaling, set my stuff for the day, you know, make sure the kids are set and everything, but then I'll like zone out at the end of the night before I go to bed for like an hour before I put
You're
my phone
done.
away. Is that still
Yes,
tap
you're
on
done.
my bandwidth?
You're done. Matter of fact, if I came in your house with a deep problem at that moment, you suck. And what I would do, so there's been times I'm in the house, my wife would come to me and be like, ask me some complex question. And I'm like, I don't have no bandwidth. I answer later on. Or give me a couple hours. Or let me restore myself, right? If I'm too hungry, I'm like, yo, I'm not qualified to answer that question. I stopped trying to brute force myself through my bandwidth. You're not television. You're a human being with limited resources. And if you don't show up to those limited resources, you will often make mistakes that you can't account for. Like you hear somebody say, it seems like things are always happening to me because you're running around with low bandwidth and you're not in control. If you drive with low bandwidth, it's a high chance you can have accident. You won't even see the most simplest shit in the world, right? So time, attention, money, now you start to see how it changes, right? Now, to court's fairness, if you're really below a certain money level, it's hard for you to hear what I'm saying. It's very, very fucking hard to hear what I'm saying. But I can honestly tell you that you're going to eventually switch over as you build. Because as you build, you're going to realize that if you give me time, I can make some money, right? And matter of fact, you're going to realize, so even running a business, some of us think about how much money we want to make. We don't ask ourselves how much time we want to make. That's a whole different level of conversation. So sometimes we're so chasing money, we're spending our time, and eventually we have a life that we're imprisoned to. So time, attention, money is like a religion. Now, speaking of religion, I'm going to teach a series, I'm going to call it the Jesus Christ Giving Series. And I'm going to show you how the Jesus Christ Giving Series is one of the most prosperous, best ways in the world to do business. And I'm going to show you how giving is good and bad. I'm going to show you how some of you guys, because of where you come from, are toxic givers. I'm going to show you how some of you guys, and then I'm going to link your giving to your particular bank account, to the way you run your business. I'm going to link your giving to your network. I'm going to link your giving to your happiness. I'm going to link your giving to many business strategies. So we're going to start off today with showing you how time, attention, and money is compromised because of giving. Y'all ready for this? Y'all stick with me? Let's do this. Next slide. So there's a book, if you want to use it as a reference point. I'm going to pull a lot of pieces from this book. Adam Grant is at Wharton. Is Wharton? Wharton Business School. He's one of the top educators at Wharton Business School. And he's mainly a strategist, business strategist. He's not an entrepreneur or development company, but he's a business strategist. So a lot of his books are written around business strategy, right? Well respected, highly acknowledged, and he's always on the cutting edge of new ideas. And it says, so you can start reading. You can start reading. See, okay. So in his book, he highlights there's three type of givers, three kind of people. They're givers, takers, and matchers. Right. So I'm gonna give you a little quick description, but we're gonna really blow these descriptions out. So givers is somebody who just love to give. It's kind of self-explanatory. Takers are people who can also be givers, but often looking at what can they get from it. And matchers are people who are kind of based upon the principles of fairness. If I give this to you, I expect reciprocity, right? Most people are matchers. There are very few real givers, even in religion. And a large portion of people who come from working class or oppression are takers. you're a giver who don't know you're really a taker. And so this is so important because I'm going to change the whole meaning of giving for you to a point that you're going to realize that giving is a superpower, but many of us never tap the source because we don't know how to give correctly. And many of us have developed a toxic relationship to giving because of religions. When I get through with this, you're going to be closer to what Jesus Christ was saying. When you go back, when you get to the end of this, you'll be like, yeah, this is what Christ was saying the whole time. But you'll do it in hindsight, not in foresight. Because many of you guys don't see that story, you got to twist it to fit modern day narratives. Just like how when you watch something that Bill Cosby did in the 70s, you go, what the hell? How did he get away with that? If you lived in the 70s, you'd be like, yeah, shit, it's kind of freaky, but I didn't know drugs, don't go goddamn, right? Times change so much. So a lot of us have lost a lot of the power of giving through translation and cultural changes and myopia. And we don't really understand giving anymore the way it's context. As an entrepreneur, you gotta know this shit. You gotta know this shit. Because inspiring large groups of people, it works so much better when you're a giver. So much better. You'll produce better talent. You have better, matter of fact, I had a person on my team. How did Nana hire somebody that made him $3 million a year, a single person, and fire that person in 5 minutes? Because that person was a taker. And if a taker gets on your team and become toxic, your company will disappear that fast. Also, if you are a taker, don't be surprised if you come under attack. You say, what do you mean? What's that website people go for when they need donations? Huh?
GoFundMe.
GoFundMe. Yeah, it sounded like everybody, there was like people call it 2 or 3 names. But anyway, GoFundMe. When you go on GoFundMe, many of you don't realize you became a taker. You weren't a giver. And when you became a taker, givers punish you in real world. We'll get into that later. So let's jump into the time, attention, money. Next slide. Oh, just hang with me. I'm like a TV like this. That's a trailer, baby. It's just coming. She's just coming. Come on now. So there's another book. I'm gonna give you a podcast coming up this week from Chance Zoe. Chance Zoe took Robert Cialdini's book and made it much better. Robert Cialdini feels sleazy a little bit sometimes. Even when you hear him speak, he sounds like a car salesperson, but his principles and his rules are solid as fuck. He's just hard to kind of sometimes digest, right? And he uses framing that feels like hustling. Zoe teaches at either Yale or one of the top universities, and her class is like you can't get into her class. And she teaches influence. So her book is called Influence is Your Superpower. I'm teaching from just only 2 pages in the book today. But I'm gonna bounce between that book, these 2 books, to build out this whole concept, which I've never done it before in this class. So if you guys want to read both of these books, these are great books to read. And I'm because I'm trying to raise you to be my peers, I don't have no superpower. I'm just showing from experience and then combining material to illustrate a point. Not that I'm some super guru that sat on a mountain smoking the best weed in the world and came with a great idea. No, I don't even smoke weed. Next slide. So here's one for you guys. Shabisha?
A crucial difference between givers at the top of the ladder of success and givers at the bottom is how they handle boundaries.
Next one. Oh no, go back. So there was research, and it might be, I thought it was, I should have looked at this a little closer. There's research that found that the most successful people in the world and the poorest people in the world are givers. So again, some of the most richest people in the world and some of the most poorest people in the world are givers. But what separates the poor from the rich is boundaries. Boundaries are so freaking important. I didn't realize how good I was with boundaries until I read The Science of Stuck. I've always been good with boundaries. Boundaries are these ideas of this is my boundary. Okay, for example, If I set a boundary and you break that boundary, I say, hey, how can you disrespect my boundary? That's not a boundary. Boundaries are not designed to control others. They're designed to protect you. So if I'm trying to give everybody something in this world, I got to know when to cut things off, when to say no, when to stop, when to set up. Like, you have to design your world to maximize your production. And you have to have boundaries that you do not break to protect your output. Once you start bending those boundaries to give to other people, you lose control of your life.
Let me jump in too. Boundaries are for you. Boundaries are for you and your individuality in terms of who you are to be a growing, progressive version of yourself. Most of us humans by default, especially of those if we are in leadership or we're trying to build something or grow something, our job is to influence others. It just is. Your job is to try to influence a customer to buy your product, influence potential employees to come work for you, influence those around you in terms of priming, framing, anchoring people to for whatever your agenda is. So your job is influence. So if you're not good at boundaries, hey, that's good for you. It's not for me. That's cool. That's dope. But I don't like it. That's great, but weed can be for you, but I don't fuck with that. Drink it. You drink dark. You drink light. I don't drink. What? Like those are boundaries, and it's not knock against you.
Not at all.
It's for you.
You don't use it to judge or compare to others. We went on vacation. It was me, Court, Mashama, T. Pratt, and Pastor Chris. And we never argue on vacation. Because we get up that morning, hey, what you want to do? If I want to do something different, I'd be like, hey, I meet y'all, I'm going to go run over here. That's my boundary. I want to go over here. Y'all going to go over there. It's nothing personal. I have a set of things I need to do to move my life forward. You cannot be an entrepreneur amongst the general public without boundaries, because the general public will move you away from being an entrepreneur.
Okay, so when you have these boundaries, two-part question. Do you tell people? And then the second part is if someone does cross those boundaries, then what? Because you had said
Well,
something.
they can't really cross it. Okay, so for example,
If you set a boundary and it's not expressed,
I'm not available. It's a very non-confrontational no or disconnect. It's not a you or this, so I'm that. It's like, hey, yo, we about to go to this concert. Hey, why don't y'all go without me? I'm going to stay here and do this. Why don't you want to go? That's just not my thing. But he's a cool artist. That's my boundary. It ain't got to do with you. It can't ever be used as a judgment, shaming, attack, finger pointing. You got to take all that away from. It's only there to protect you because you got something to take care of, something to do, somewhere you got to go, something you got to focus on, something you're trying to produce. Some of us, okay, for example, let's say you're studying your homework and you're at home and you're reading your homework and you're sitting down, and then I give you a call. If you have a boundary, you'd be like, yo, let me call you back in 1 hour. I'm working on something. No boundary, you'd be like, all right, yo, what's the problem, man? See what just happened? I didn't attack you. I'm protecting me.
When me and my girlfriend first started dating, we both had the same diet. I both didn't eat meat. We was a pescatarian, right? So, man, you take me to a place. I'm looking for what I can eat, right? I ain't asking questions and like I just let me see what I can eat. If it's a plate full of sides, then it's a plate full of sides. But my chick would be like, is this vegetarian? Does this have meat in it? Does it? And I'm like, yo, it's like this is a badge of honor for you, huh? Because it's like it gives you, it's a new title, right? And because now the other person is affected by your boundary versus you don't even know. And 10 years later, like, I've been kicking it with you for 10 years. I didn't know you didn't eat meat. Like, yeah, have you ever seen me eat it? Nah, not really, huh? Because that's the difference between boundaries and influence.
I just want to say that, like, as an entrepreneur, how important boundaries are. When I moved back home, since I don't punch a clock or work a traditional 9 to 5, my mother had me doing anything and everything during time where I'm supposed to be handling business. And it still gets away from me. And if I don't institute my boundaries where I'm working, so I can't help you with whatever you have going on, then my deadlines are pushed up. While
Yeah.
you're asleep, I'm up till 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning doing what I didn't get done because I allowed my boundaries to be broken. I've gotten much better, but I'm not all the way there. But I do recognize, a lot of times after the fact, but recognize where I allow my boundary to be destroyed or didn't have
That's
the
a
boundary
great-
set in place.
Great.
Yeah, and when you giving, if you don't set boundaries on giving, let's keep moving. Next slide.
Chris Foster said that he told you he was in the neighborhood and you politely told him that you were going to be on your bike ride.
Yeah.
And he was impressed how you didn't allow him to compromise your boundary. He said, I mean, I felt away for a split second, but then I practiced some emotional agility.
And he's one of my favorite people to talk to. Like if you ever talk to Chris is like a bright light in a tunnel. He'll just light you up, right? Just on the phone. And I enjoy talking to him. I'd rather talk to Chris than watch anything on TV. But it's time to go for my bike ride. And anybody knows me, I'm on my bike ride. I ain't stopping for nobody. It's my time. Even Tennille, hey, Tennille's part of 510 Media. That's the ride or die. Tennille knows, call me on my bike. It ain't gonna be the worst conversation. Yeah. Okay, bye, I'm on my bike. Bye. Right? Because it's like, that's my boundary. And why is that important? Because I realize I'm not special. And if I want to do special shit, I gotta practice special shit. But once you think you're special, you start becoming entitled and start thinking like, oh, I can still do this and juggle this and juggle that. I ain't juggling shit. Ain't nobody from my family from the circus. So I set smart boundaries, and even my daughter knows my boundaries. My daughter be like, you working or not? I'll be like, I'll work it. She just walk right out the road. Or even like, he's working, right? And because when you was at home over COVID, if you didn't have boundaries, your world felt like you was just in a whirlpool. Like, I don't know what time of day it is because everybody's pulling me in different directions. And when you don't have boundaries, people will ask you things really subtle, like, hey, can you? And if you respond to all four of those, your day is already done.
And cell phones. Nowadays, especially people who was born when cell phones was really popping, they think you have to respond to them every time they call or text you. And if you have the mentality where, oh, I don't want to feel bad by not, and you're locked into that system, then it's hard for you to have boundaries because you can't carve out no time to do anything because if they're already on the rhythm of you responding every time they call or text, then they're like, yo, I called you. And they feel entitled to your time. So I have people who do me like that a lot. Like, I try to text you. I know I couldn't get back to you. I'm getting back to you now. Everything good? And it'd be nothing. It'd be something little. But that carve out of time, I needed to build something or brainstorm something. It was super important. So we're kind of convoluted with what's important and non-important, and it's all meshed together. And boundaries allow you to pull it all apart and separate it.
Can I bring something in that shows up for me? The mental pain of that. Okay? Can we just be transparent here? I'm gonna tell you about me. There was a point in time where I was setting like times where things wouldn't come through. Like, nope, can't get me. Like I would program it into my phone, set notifications so you couldn't get to me. I started to kind of feel like I was a bit robotic in jail with that, right? So that felt a little odd. And so what I'm wondering, and I mean, your disciplines have been kind of fire for a while, Court. So, but I'm going to ask the question of, navigating out of the places where you feel bad. So when I first met y'all 5 years ago, I did not have boundaries. I didn't know I didn't have boundaries. I was not raised to have boundaries. Everything that this space taught me about boundaries, I was told was bad to have. You're not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to drop everything for family, right? So, if somebody needs you, you don't do that. Me and Nana have had so many really hard conversations around my tribalism and the way that I'm always running to go and save somebody. So it's been, and I'll be completely transparent and say, like, yes, there has been a lot of growth in that. Sometimes I've had to pivot because I got too far into it, and this is why Nana is my brother, and I mess with him because he's not afraid to say it to me. Like, you see, you're stepping into that too far. So that, that's where I'm at with it. Like, it's definitely something where some days is on point, but I still haven't found a place where it feels completely, there's a mental pain of like, oh. And sometimes I'm willing to sit in it and be like, okay, shit, it just gotta hurt. But it's still there. And so I just wanted to put that out, that, and in some instances and situations, I'm better than others. But it still does feel pain. I feel a sharpness.
It's guilt. It's guilt. Like, guilt. It's family guilt, it's friendship guilt, it's fear. It's fear. A lot of times it's fear of not being liked anymore. It's fear of not being in favor of a person. But the goal as an adult, especially as an entrepreneur, is to build your shit. It's to build your brand, to build your business, to build your company, right? Be the best version of you that you can be. Who else knows how to be the best version of you can be? Nobody. So if 6 o'clock, if 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock is her time, and I'm trying to impress myself upon her inside that window, if she is unavailable and I'm pissed off that she's unavailable, that's on me, because she's being the best version of her that she can be in that moment. So that's guilt. Fuck that shit. I don't feel bad for shit. I don't feel bad. Like, my daughter is the most precious thing in my world, right? I love this little girl to death. It's unthinkable shit that flows through my brain of what I do for her, right? Meditation time, leave daddy alone. And she, in a couple, 3-4 times, she got that message. Because I'm meditating, and I'm from the hood anyway, right? So I'm deep in my meditation, doing my thing, and all of a sudden I feel a, girl, don't leave me, hey, do not do that, right? So
he thought Jesus came. Oh, dear Lord,
man, come on, cuz, like,
that was Jesus.
And it's already, I do it early in the morning, 6 o'clock, so it's dark in the room, it's dark everywhere. I can't see nothing anyway. And to feel this little hand, man, cuz, like, don't do that to me. So, you know what she does now? When she's with me, I'll come out of, it's been maybe 45 minutes, an hour. I come out of meditation, and she's curled up in a ball right next to my feet. But she won't touch me, because that's my time. I need that time. You want me to have a good day, then you got to leave me alone. So I don't feel bad. Now, maybe at the beginning, it's going to be that until you work through that. But what's the alternative? You being a shittier version of yourself that day to take on the whims or whatever that somebody else wants, versus that's called you being a martyr to yourself. That's self-sacrifice. And we're not in the business of self-sacrifice, because if you built something and then you crack and crumble, then who else is going to do it? The world's going to keep moving, and people just going to walk over you. So you got to protect that.
So Read next. Oh, go ahead. And then we'll read the next. Go ahead.
I just was going to say something that I pulled from the book around boundaries, which she didn't frame it in this way, but this is like what I got from the book, was that boundaries
Closer.
boundaries protect your ability to hold space for yourself. Because when she was talking about, you talk to people and oftentimes they don't want to hear your feedback or they don't need input or whatnot. They just need you to hold space for them. And when I read the boundaries chapter, instead of the guilt that I would normally feel for setting something that was important for me so I could achieve what I wanted to, I was like, yo, by me cutting off specific time to, even if I don't have anything to do in that time, but just to have think space, just to hold space for my thoughts, my boredom, my aspirations, even if it's sitting at a goddamn wall and counting the dots on the wall, that's the space that I need so that I have downtime to be creative, to invest in myself, to think about things, to problem solve. I would encourage you to embrace not feeling guilty about having downtime to hold space for yourself, because it's just as important as holding space for others.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So I'm equating space in my situation to finances, money, because I tend to play the martyr and give, which means that I'm creating this pattern of not having enough for myself. And I'm uncomfortable holding money. I'm uncomfortable investing it and growing it. Like, I have a value judgment against growing money because it makes me feel guilty, and I'm actually, like, I have a visceral reaction to people who have a lot of money, and because there are so many people who don't have. And I'm curious if you have any practical practices that you have put into place to get comfortable with having money, to get comfortable with building wealth, and this idea of even generational wealth. That shit makes me feel so uncomfortable because I think about all the people who built off the backs of the people that created me, in order to have wealth and flaunt it, and I don't want to be that. So I'm trying to create something different, but I want to have money. I want to have something for myself.
So I think maybe after class we should sit like here, and a few of us really chop into this one, because this will take a minute for you to break that story. That's a story you're telling yourself that's disconnected from people. So the stories become more important than your observations. When you actually start to observe, you realize that story doesn't even exist. And it comes from that, like, the haves versus the have-nots. That story is so cold. I'm gonna, when I get to the end of this, I'm gonna kind of tap on that a little bit. But
I have to say, like, it doesn't make sense because my parents, they fought to get out. They fought to get out of the hood. And so they created this picture for me and my brother that they had money to give, they had, and so I should be living a different life, right? I should be wealthy. I should be thinking about building for my future lineage, but I'm blocked.
It's not your fault. I don't want you to think that you're the only person that feels that way. Most black folks have to get through that hell, that journey, to get to the other side, to get to wealth. I've been there. I'm sure a lot of people in this room are the same, in the same place right now with you right now. So it's not, and I definitely got some tools for you.
Yeah, we got tools.
Because I'm right there. Like, I'm there. I'm like, it's now.
Because like, here's the thing. Once you get into like the offense, so I think you've been on the defense too long, and defense is necessary. Nothing bad about it. You need it. But that's some of the effects of being defensive in your thinking, because you're thinking about protecting. Okay, when you start thinking about how do you build, create, and change and transform, you need resources to have that impact. And even if you say, I'm not gonna keep a lot for myself, which is fine, that's pretty fine, because life has a way of rewarding you if you're really truly a giver. But you got to be able to get comfortable moving resources and accumulating resources to have impact. Like if you're able to hire 20, 30 different people, you can teach them values and morals and help them take care of their families and give them health insurance and all these different options that are serious. By the way, one of the number one benefits of wealth is health, right? And so yet what happens is a lot of times is that as you demonize because you're in a protective mode, but once you shift to the offensive side, you're going to also find out that if you look at human beings over a broader scale, a lot of the poverty that we complain about in America is really envy. It's not poverty compared to real poverty. And we're going to teach that in this class. We're going to help you look at the world more globally, more historically. You're going to start realizing, oh, it's almost like I'm mad because his bicycle is a better bicycle than mine, but I don't realize there's people who don't even have shoes. Right, so America is fussing about bikes differences. When you spread your mind, open up, and you look at level 1 and level 2, that's like we break it into 4 different levels. But you look at level 1 and level 2, then a lot of people who've been preaching that got into your ears were really people who reflected envy. And as soon as they get paid, they're gonna flip the script on you so fucking fast. It'll be like, what? I thought you was down with the movement. And they will flip it to other. Well, there was a story I told. Oh, it's this guy. And a story I taught last year, I think it was December, the last one of the last classes. And I said, it was this guy that, he was this big activist. He was helping the poor. And then as soon as he got money, he straight went to didn't even talk to the poor. So the dude approached him and said, yo, I thought you was, trying to help the poor and against the rich. He goes, no, because I just wanted to be one of them. And because I couldn't be one of them, it turned into envy. And then I just tried to do everything I could to destroy them. That's a very common movement. And yet it's so masked. And you really, one thing about sitting with people, I don't care about your punchlines and your sell pitches and your hype moments, because when you sit, from being pro-black for so many years, almost everybody was pro-black. I used to go to McClymonds, and we used to sit and listen to the top speakers in the pro-black movement. And I remember the room being packed. I would say less than 2% of them are still pro-black. Because they were really saying, I want what white folks got, and as soon as I get it, fuck y'all, I'm out of here, right? If you're really about our people, you realize that the city you live in is an economic structure. This is not organic. This is not where God produced. This is what man has produced, the corporations have produced. And if you want to have space and freedom in this space, you got to play a game of building. And building requires the control of resources. Hospitals control of resources. All the basic shit is resources. Humanitarian it's a resource game. And so once you switch that flip and jump before I start learning more of the offensive side, it almost self-heals this space. So it's not, but it's coming from you trying to protect your people for so long that you've put yourself in a position where you're only living half the story. But the story you live is still cool. It's just half the story.
Real quick, too, is taking the word story. Pretty much everything that's surrounding what you said is just a story that you learn. And it's a story that you're feeding yourself, and the story is not necessarily true. It's just a story. Because you can flip a story so many different ways to realize you can be the hero of your story, the villain, you can be the antagonist, you can be so many facets, just how you spin it. So it's just a story.
It's a story.
And everything is perspective. Everything is perspective. Just remember that. Because as good as you may try to be, there's somebody trying to heal from you hurting them right now. Do you have kids? So when you were born, your parents, did you think your parents said, I just want her to grow up to be as mediocre as she can be. I don't want her to be wealthy. I don't want to be rich. I want her to grow up and just struggle. Nobody wants that for their kids. They want their kids to be the best that they can absolutely be. But over the course of life, we get told these stories. It's just a story. Because guess what? You are wealthy.
Yeah.
To 7.5 billion people,
You're wealthy.
you wealthy. They like
you're 1%.
they like calling you the B word. Like this, she got all this money. She live in America. She doing all like that. You already wealthy. You're already wealthy. We live. All of us live in America. Live better than any king that's ever lived in the world, in the history of the world right now. So you already that. All you have to do is just flip the. Oh, I guess I am. Oh, well, how much do I make per year in California? Like, I don't know what your annual.
go down south
I don't
right
know
now.
what your annual salary is, but you shitting on 75% of everybody in America.
And you can tell by your shoes and your hair.
In America. So you already there. You
I
already
don't know
there.
what it means. I just be yeah, whatever. Forget my fleek. I don't know what it means.
You're already there. So it's all about perspective. I mean, I think about the people who are like that when it comes to like, you know, saving the environment and like, are these clothes, sustainable and blah, blah, blah. And you just finish eating a rack of lamb and a chicken and all kind of dead animals. What? Okay, you asking me if this was made in a sustainable factory and you just ripped off animal flesh and just swallowed it, and you asking me about that. We're so hypocritical as humans. All we have to do as black folks is just start changing our stories.
Yeah, and also too, like we once you see what it takes to build a company, people at the bottom will always change the story. Like when I used to work in corporate America, I started off in the mailroom and got up into the executive level. There are different conversations. The people down at the bottom don't see what's in front of them, and they don't realize what it takes to lead, and they don't realize the impact that person has. It's called responsibility bias. Like if you're in a relationship, it's always, if you ask a couple or two people in a relationship, how much are you responsible of? How much are they responsible of? If you ask them separately, it answers like 130, 150. Both of them overestimate their value and their contribution. When you're in a corporation, you overestimate the value of the poor, the value of the rich. That's a mental bias. When you start building stuff, you realize, oh shit, this is what you got to do every day. These are the risks you take. These are the losses you get. This is a level of responsibility. Oh, I see why you get paid like that. Now, don't get me wrong. You get 500 times the pay. Like you getting paid $500 million a year, and the next highest salary is like $500,000 a year. Okay, that's a different conversation. I'm not suggesting that, right? But you know, often salespeople make more than the CEOs because once you start seeing learning how each party's structure and who's most important and what role they play and how they plug into the strategy and how you have to think about that, all of a sudden all that stuff goes out your mind. And then you don't realize once you build something, everybody wants to tell you how to spend your money. And the cool part is you could go out there every day and be solving a major problem you could be changing every high school in Oakland, and somebody would be like, well, how come you ain't changing all the hospitals? How come you ain't changing all the banks? How come my daughter's sick and you wasn't there? You know what you need to do? Because what we try to do is we try to tell 10 people how to save the world. Mm-hmm. The math don't add up.
Man, good point. Check this out. Other thing is, a lot of times we demonize stuff that we can't have. We quick to do it. So if I'm at a club and I see a woman that I like, hey, how you doing? And she's like, nah, I'm good. Then where do I go next? Man, fuck her. Immediately, right?
She ain't
immediately.
All that.
She ain't all that. That's why her knees ashy. Like we'll think of something to discredit something that we can't have. Women who see these dudes these days. These dudes is weak. They weak males. They this and that. I don't even like these dudes. I choose to be single because I want to be single. That's not true. You want somebody, but you haven't found somebody yet. I don't want to be rich because, see, I don't even like that. See, rich people do X, Y, and Z, so I don't even want money. You want money. But when you bump up against a barrier, a boundary, a limit, and you realize that you can't get it, the first place your brain goes is to demonize it. Not yours. I'm saying in general. So we also got to be careful.
Like surrounding you that might be pumping you up.
Exactly.
are not who you think they are. They're imposters in your presence, and you think, yeah, we about to, because you know money because you came from money, so you comfortable saying, okay, I can push it away. I'm really gonna commit to this, which is a separate conversation in itself. And because you didn't build, like, okay, if you was your mother and father who built it, you can't think the way you think. Because they suffer. Okay, so for example, let me show you something. This is my last one. I want to keep going. I'm at home. You at the club. Say we best friends, right? So Monday come around. You're like, what's up, Nana? You going to the club with us tonight? I'm like, nah, I'm about to spend these books. You come home at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yo, you should have been there. Now it was pumping. I'd be like, I know, man. And we do that for like 6 months, over and over and over. So then all of a sudden, I'm generating resources, and you've lived the best life of your youth. Now I'm 30 and I got millions. Now you ask yourself, how you got millions? That's the shit that blows my fucking mind. Like, you want to ignore my practice. You want to ignore my sacrifices and my commitments, and you think you should have the same thing while you party at the club every weekend. If you don't go kill your motherfucking self now.
Hey, so great point. So,
that's old now. I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry, guys. It came out. Sorry. I'm working on myself.
So your parents and a lot of parents, even I've done it too, is a lot of times we shield our kids from the process.
Yeah.
So you don't know what the fuck happened. You don't know as a black couple what they had to do to get out the ghetto so that they can make money available for you. So a lot of times what happens is that our privilege starts and we don't have any context of what happened. I made the mistake with my oldest son. My oldest son is in Paris right now, living over there for 3 months to do the blah, 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 blah with the Paris people, right? Pops is from the
with
hood.
The Paris people, you understand
right?
me?
Pops from the hood. I don't even know, like, okay. But the thing is, I shielded him from all the pain, all the process, he just didn't see his daddy. You know what I'm saying? He just didn't see it. So then when I remember one time when my first company, CBS, did an interview, and they was like interviewing me, and then my son was next to me like, hey, isn't it cool what your dad's doing? No. And then the motherfucker had to say, why not? Because he works too much. He's never home. Right? Which, absolute truth. But they don't know, they don't have context. So when the money came, this is just my bottom. This is it. I don't know struggle. I don't know pain. I don't know any of that. So now I'm looking at things from a different lens, not context driven, like, oh, what about the environment? What about these things? What about this? What about...
That's freedom to think about that.
What about clothing material? What about... Because their bandwidth isn't taxed like ours was with survival. They got the freedom of a full bandwidth. So you can't... it's not. That's why I say it's not your fault.
It's not your fault at all.
We should have gave you context, not just drove you to the neighborhood where we grew up. Like, look, this is where I grew up. You better be glad. You better be happy. No, we should have gave you more context. You know what I'm saying?
He called me a nigga. I'd have still picked the bucket up. You're like, oh, damn, Dad. He called me Willie. My name was Michael. Willie, come get the bucket, motherfucker. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm tired of slave movies. I don't want to see another one of them motherfuckers another day in my life. Yeah, oh yeah, woman, yeah. Okay, don't go there. Go ahead.
The shade. Okay. Prefacing that I am working on being heavily rooted in my stories and trying to detach from them, but just giving that as a preface to anyone who doesn't know me. Everyone that knows me knows I'm heavy in stories. I'm working on it. When you've grown up and you understand that you've gone through a lot of trauma, and then you have kids of your own, and you're working on climbing out of that, but you realize that a lot of your shortcomings and some of your upcomings have been because of your traumas and your stories that you tell yourself, but you have the natural inclination to protect your children and not try to keep the trauma loop going. How do you give them context without creating a trauma loop for them. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think if I answer that question, we won't never get. We're going to a whole different lane.
All right,
I'll
all right.
I tell you what. I'll bake that into a portion because
That's a good ass question
that's a
too.
great question. That is a great freaking question. And I would almost say, in safety, to just the quickest answer I can give you, you can't do it alone. Can't do it alone. You can't.
If I start talking,
Go ahead, Shamisha, because if I go there, I promise you I'm going to go somewhere else. I promise you. Go ahead. That's an
Grant.
excellent question, and I'm going to bake that into maybe next class. Go ahead.
Grant notes, instead of trying to help all the people all the time with all the requests, successful givers reserve their generosity for givers and matchers. They block out time to get their work done, and they help in ways that energize them and make a unique contribution. Givers who don't learn to say no get sucked dry by overgiving and become easy prey for opportunists.
When you run your business or when you start to grow, especially for you, as soon as you start growing, whatever you start growing, if you don't know how to say no and block out time for what you're trying to do, opportunists will see you coming. I was at one point known as a giver in the community. Like everybody, we was going through something, they would come to Nana. This is way back in the days. Do you know how many trash relationships surrounded me and just was like leeches sucking the blood out of my brain and not changing their lives at all? And some of them would just call me repeating the same goddamn conversation again with the same crying rhythm, with the same trigger points and the same fucking choice of words and the same type of labels. And in the end, the only person who was losing was me. It is so, saying no is so critical. Here's the other point. If you don't learn how to say no, the quality of giving is trash. If I burn you out, what you give it is the lowest quality. You give it everybody a cup of noodles because you ain't got nothing left.
Fairy tales back in the day were written in an allegory for lessons. If you ever read fairy tales and you were caught in the characters, you missed a lot. So one of the fairy tales is the goose that laid the golden egg. That story was written for you in this. So you are the goose. You lay the golden eggs. And if you allow people to just take from you, then they kill the whole machine. So you're protecting the machine and the system and the legacy and who you are by having those boundaries and being able to say no. If you put yourself as the character of the goose, then that can allow you to say, whoa, hold on. If I keep going at this pace, it's not sustainable, and the goose is gonna crack.
And don't think it's just one person.
No.
Let's say Tone hits you with a story and you get emotional and you catch it, stop. And then Kaja comes right behind him and you give that little time, stop. And then Shanice comes in and then stop. Shanice, stop. You don't realize that week is gone. You don't know how to cut it off before it gets too rich. You don't see them. You don't see it unfolding, right? And you don't realize that there's people who out here who are looking to leech on you. Like we have so many of these people, it's ridiculous. It's not even a small portion. And the more this mental health stuff is getting out of control, because some of it is more perception than reality. That's what you learn into the Stuck book. That the need people are becoming more needy, more and more needy. And they become from communities of poverty and more needy. And I promise you that the community, as soon as they see you making progress, go talk to Nana. Nana, I can help you. So when I create this class, people try to come on the phone. I'll be like, look, I got a class that starts at this time. If you want some help, hey, come on my class. Because I'm going to give to many as opposed to taking. Before I started Hope, I was doing one-on-ones. Do you know what happened in my life? My money started looking like I was doing one-on-ones. It was like, oh my God, I'm going broke fucking with y'all. So I decided, okay, be concentrated. And even now, I have to protect how much time I put into this and how much I'm going to invest and look at that balance at all times. I cannot lead with my heart. I have to lead with my mind.
Absolutely. Same thing. When I first started, I was like, 'cause
yeah,
I
he was
love
going.
y'all. I love
He
y'all,
was.
man. I love y'all so much. And I want to see you win so bad because I root for every level. I don't care if you were the top of the class or bottom of the class. I want you to win, and I know you can. And at first, I was getting caught up because I was, come to the office, let's talk, come. But over time, it was taxing my bandwidth. So I had to say, this is my time that I'm giving. And on occasion, I can chop it up. But other than that, or if you want to chop it up, come to lunch with me. Because I got to do that anyway. I got to eat anyway. But I'm not going to be having 2, 3, 4 hour conversations during the week. Now, my shit's fucked up. Who going to help me? So if you are calling people and you're like, hey, I just want to call you to vent, and you spending 2 or 3 hours on a phone call, sucking that other person's time and energy, you also are part of a problem. And if there's no reciprocation there, where you're not giving and feeding that person, then you're on the other side of that equation too. Just
And I would
keep
even
in
say,
mind.
don't. Matter of fact, you don't want to do it for reciprocity. When you give, you don't want to. I'll get into that a little later. Go ahead.
This is so interesting. This is why it's never a popular opinion when I say it to people, but this is why I low-key feel like authenticity is a scam. Like, people don't need to know all that you have to offer because this is the output, right?
I'm gonna fix that a little bit. No, I'm gonna fix
I
that.
feel like you curate what you give people what you want them to have. It doesn't mean it's fake. If I have $100 and I give you 25, that's a real $25 you can spend.
That's
You
true.
don't have to know I have 75.
That's true.
So I'm not a fan of authenticity because it opens too much. It's too much.
But what if the world now knows you have 100 and you ain't been training?
But that's your fault if everybody knows that.
No. I asked him this question. Remember I asked you this question? I asked him this question. I was like, no, how the hell do you just have everybody coming in your house all the time and doing this and that? I can't do that shit because I couldn't. And he was like, because I don't trust people like that. I don't know who's going to be this. And he's like, nah, that ain't it. You have to have the courage and the tools to be able to deflect, push, move people out the way. Well, a lot of times what you're saying is, I'm afraid, I'm scared, so I don't want to be caught. So I'm going to hide in this little shell so that I don't have to deal with people instead of doing the opposite, going all the way out by having tools. Hey, I got to, like Chris, I'm on my bike ride. Internally, you feel horrible saying that. But if you're doing this right, you could do it at the. Hey, I gotta go. I gotta go on the bike ride. I gotta go here. I gotta go there. Yeah, you know I have 100, but you know what? It ain't for you. I gotta do this, that with it. This is what I'm doing with it.
Once you learn the science of leverage, which I'm going to get into in this class, when you learn leverage, you don't know leverage yet. When you learn leverage, you're like, this is a fucking superpower, right? But when you don't know leverage, you're victimized by just the request. Somebody in class called me. Y'all make me do this. Somebody in class called me, and they were in negotiations where you would suck right now. This is why I'm going. That's why you would. And two, okay, before we get into my point, when you showed a certain facial expression that black people produce, we see it as anger. I know it as fear. But see, because if I have to dress you, I'm not going to go for the anger. Otherwise, I'm going to lose that battle, right? Because your anger going to come strong, and I'm not sure if I want to pay that much cost, so I'm going to lose. But if you see the fear, I can backdoor that anger and take it away from you, right? That's why when he jumped to what he said was tight as fuck, because he saw the fear behind your anger. Somebody called me on the phone, and the lady said to produce my products, it would cost $2,030. But her product it was a white label product that she was producing where she had a partnership. The lady she had a partnership says she went in negotiation, she's gonna need she usually takes one product a week. Now she's gonna need 25 products in 1 week. Huge increase in growth. And she said, hey, can you do it for $2,000? The lady went to the defense and said, in my choice of words, not hers, paraphrasing, you got this game fucked up. And she got offended at how in the hell you gonna ask me when I have to put all this work into it? And I said, that's why you're horrible at negotiations. It's never personal. It's an anchor. She made her first offer to anchor you as low as she can. When she anchored you, she has the right to feel whatever the fuck, like they have the right to feel whatever the fuck they need to feel. It's your job to know what the counter move is. And your counter move is, oh, this is just business. See, business ain't all this love and hug and, oh my God, I just wanna make sure you're safe. Are you safe? Because I'm gonna make sure everybody's safe, right? Shout out to my LGBTQ plus. But what is that? But it is not that kind of shit. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you another lesson. In corporate America, in order for them to maximize productivity and creativity and innovation from their employees, they have to make you feel safe. So when you come out in this entrepreneur world, you're looking for safety. You got this game fucked up. This shit ain't safe at all. Is my microphone still on?
Yeah.
Okay, let's make sure, because I'm not hearing myself. Okay, so you not as safe as you think you are. And matter of fact, you gotta get rid of that whole idea of needing safety at all. People coming for you all the time. And matter of fact, you start to enjoy it. And let me tell you why it's so important that you stay in that world. Because without that world, you become lazy. See, if he decided to become a branding firm, I need that competition. Because that competition makes Fighting Media better than it was this year. Because I ain't about to let him just take my position. And if he takes my fucking position, I'm going to go take this man to dinner, shake his hand, say, good ass job. I'll see you next year. It ain't personal like that. Where we go wrong, this is where we have to separate and pull apart. This is the entrepreneur consciousness versus the employment consciousness. You're speaking from the employment consciousness, and that's cool if you was in a job, because all that safety and the way the environment is designed to maximize their production, everything you said fits. You come out in this real world, in the real world, all those things that the company's facing for you, that's why their salaries are so big, you now have to learn how to get that big chest and face that same blow, that same force, that same power. And so when somebody gets that offer that feels personal, it can't be personal no more. It can't be personal. So if somebody goes, well, you should give me 25. You say, well, why should I? I would just stop you. Why should I? When the lady told her, hey, I want to get these products for this price, which means she would only make a $30 profit for 1 week of work for astronomical costs, I would have said, hey, here's my cost. How can I do that? I tell you what, this is the only offer I can make you, because what can I do? These are my numbers. It's not personal. Either you figure the game out, because either you made a bad offer to the person, a false promise that you can't keep up, or you need to cut your profit to make sure I cover my profit, because, hey, I'm not part of the negotiation. Right? But if you make it personal, you get into these unnecessary language and words. You fray the relationship, and you find yourself losing that relationship when it should never even got to that emotional space. It should have been like, the person says, well, what can you do for $2,000? You be like, well, listen, I looked at my numbers. It's gonna cost me $2,000. I got to make at least this much profit. You tell me how this can be done. I didn't say no to you. I didn't say yes. I just shifted the responsibility. Like, you logged it in my lap, I'll do it right back in your lap. Now guess what? Now you got to carry that weight, or you got to leave the fucking room and let the next person come through and make a better offer. But what we never do, and here's the thing, you may come back and be my best client in the future, because maybe you've just been thinking in the space of scarcity. Third thing, if you don't charge enough money, you can't grow your fucking business. Some of y'all playing this employment fairness game in your charging numbers. So let's say I can get the job done for $150, and you charge $150 to $160. You got the game fucked up. You say, well, but then I made $10 profit, plus I made some money, but then you don't have no money to invest in the growth of your business. So you need another $50 to $60 of that money. So your price, if you do it for $150, you need at least $250 to $200, so you can have some investment money. So when you see opportunities, you can invest those opportunities that allow you to grow, to hire those people that have this business that expands, where you can get some of your time back. Because your number one goal is, I want my time back. So in a sense, your defense space is okay. Like I said to her, it's not your fault. You know, Kaja, I think you're one of the dopest sisters around. And I've been praising you a bit, probably too much, to the point that if it comes back and they say, Nana, you're like, yeah, I know. But that confrontational energy, period, never make a customer or the public or people confrontational. Learn to see them, learn to see the empathy in their positions and be like, okay, I see where you're coming from. But I got my boundaries. That's where the boundaries come in, because it ain't personal. That's what you feel, and that's cool. And I respect how you feel. Just like if let's say you never left corporate America, because you kind of fly, so I don't know what's gonna happen, right? But let's say you never left corporate America, but we're still gonna be best friends, because when you have that corporate talk, I just have separate boundaries, and I would listen to you like, yeah, and I would put it in context, but I won't let it change my boundaries. So if you say, Nana, can I borrow 25? First of all, like my auntie, this is the best story. My auntie called me and said, Nana, I'm behind on my car payments. I'm paying something like 20% interest on my car notes. And I was wondering, could you pay my car off and I just pay you? I said, Auntie, I don't think that's a good idea. She said, why? I said, because see, you in need. And the way the brain works is that once that need is taken care of, so when you're in need, you have a bias. You forget about rent need to be paid. You forget about gas need to be put in the car. You forget you have to eat. So when you calculate paying me back, it's a false promise. Now, once you break that promise, I'm not willing to just give you 15 grand. Especially when we got to have a conversation. How do you get to the point where you're paying 20% interest? Right? Because what you just told me is that there's a point when you have to make a decision and you're willing to sacrifice others before you pay that cost. And Auntie, I really don't want us to be in that space. You can imagine how my auntie's looking at me like, this motherfucker said what? Right? I move like that because that's a boundary I have. Now, where if court says, Nana, can I borrow $20,000, and I know how he performs, that's an investment for me. Let's go. I invest money all the time. If I give you away money, it has to be a really good reason. My auntie was dying, she was hospice, okay, I give away that money. Another auntie. But just giving away cash because of your story, boundaries, baby.
Yo, here's another real live example. I'm in the middle of raising a seed round for my company. Doing my shit in private, because I'm a private guy. Doing my thing in private. Doing my pitches in private. Doing my pitches where I have to. We got somebody to jump in on a piece of the round that I'm trying to raise. I'm trying to raise a couple million, 2.3. Somebody writes a check. Guess what happens when they write a check? It goes on the news wire. So the next day, I go and see on the news, blah, 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 invested in course mill. Oh, shit, oh, my God. I can't go hide under a rock. Everybody know my email address and phone number is the same. So guess what happens? My email's blowing up. People wanting shit. My text is going off. People asking for shit.
Boundaries.
Now people like, hey, can you sponsor my school? Can you put a banner in my school? It's 500, 5,000, 10,000. Pick one. And now it went from me being we so proud of Court, the hustler who came from nothing. We want to support him now. It's like, you gonna come sponsor my shit because I seen the news.
Boundaries.
So how do I navigate?
You a sellout.
How did I? And if I don't, I'm a sellout, and I helped you get there, motherfucker. Like, we helped you. I gave you referrals, and I gave you, so you owe me. So I had to I had to navigate through all of that shit in the most gentle ways, because half of them was some of my customers. Oh yeah, our high school we doing like a sponsorship. 5,000 is the minimum. I know you got it. So to what your point was, Kasha. You was like, well, if that happens, it's your fault. No, in business, that's just how it goes.
Yeah. If you hire 3 employees, you're a target. If you get a nice car, you're a target. If you go to a restaurant and a bill comes and you don't be like, oh, how much? Okay, all I have was a sandwich. What did you have? If you don't say that, you just like, here's my credit card. Target. And it's cold-blooded. You might say, what? Target? Because you don't realize the level of poverty that exists in this world, and the difference. I got folks in my family that call us bougie, and we the first ones to help. Oh, y'all bougie. Motherfucker, how'd you get that computer that you have in school? If I was bougie, I would have gave you a calculator. Motherfucker. Next slide. Let's go do one more slide. I think maybe one or two more slides, and we can call it a night. Okay, next slide. Go read it.
When we're rewarded by parents, teachers, professors,
This
and
is important.
bosses for being good, we crave the dopamine hit of applause, a thank you, a perfect score. But the people-pleasing habit can lead to chronic scarcity.
There you go, right there.
So giving is an addiction. You get pleasure from it. It gives you dopamine hits. You get addicted. You go through life always getting these wins and celebrates, and people hug you. Oh my God, you gave. And after a while, you're not even giving because you're trying to help the people that's in front of you. If you ever gave money to somebody on the street, you didn't give a fuck about him. Because half of y'all just gave money to support a crackhead. You didn't try to analyze what's the best solution. But he's like, here's $1. I feel so good. You may even further the problem. In other countries, they give money to other countries because a lot of people are running on this dopamine hit of giving. Oh, I feel so good. Oh, I helped. Oh my God, I feel so good. And then when the money runs out, because it inevitably will, because it's not sustainable, you broke the systems that kept them alive and caused even greater damage once you leave. You could destroy nations with giving. You could destroy lives with giving. But often you're not doing for others, you're doing it selfishly because it gives you a dopamine. You're in this planet of moral thinking. It feels good. I don't feel bad. I feel right. I'm not wrong. A lot of religious people get screwed right here. You run around thinking, oh, I'm doing God's duty because I'm giving, and you're just causing damage everywhere you turn.
Yo, I was watching this documentary about this tribe that hadn't been touched by man yet. And they finally like start touching down and with them. I think there have been a couple altercations a couple times. I think they may have tried to kill somebody or whatever, but they finally start communicating. And so he was like, what's the what makes you happy? And he was like, he basically was like, I'm really tired of you guys coming out here. You guys are sick, you're depressed. You give us all this shit like cigarettes and candy and bad food, and it's killing you. Your bodies are bad, and we're happy. We got our meat, and we don't want nothing else. He's like, you guys are destroying our environment. Just go, don't stop coming, because we're good. And that's when my brain was like, boom. It's like sometimes your giving can be destructive and you don't realize it.
Children of entitlement. A lot of these black men are coming up right now. Black women testify if you know what I'm talking about. A lot of black men are walking around expecting society to give them something because they've been told they deserve something. Somebody owe them something.
Takers.
Right? And because white folks are giving to them so much, they think that's how the game works. They got the game fucked up. Give you an example real quick in the next point. If you read about there's a town, Parchester, in Richmond. I think it's Parchester or something like that. I think it's the name of it. Oh, by the way, y'all think Black Wall Street was the only time that black folks got down in? There's so many of them. It's ridiculous. Like Black Wall Street is so sad. That's all we could think about. In all fairness, there's so many versions of Black Wall Street all over the fucking United States where black people brought small portions of land and built their asses off, fought local government, got water, electricity ran to them, redesigned the land so they don't get flooded out or whatever the natural elements didn't cause destruction, and then lawyers and doctors and produced some of the greatest minds. They took a piece of fucking soil with nothing, trees, and cut shit down, houses, shit like that, right? You give them up as Castlemont, that generation Castlemont's motherfucking university. You get this new generation Castlemont, they didn't give us the right, they didn't give us. See how giving has fucked you up? Giving is not purely always good. Next slide. Go ahead.
Not enough time, not enough sleep.
Wait. This is what happened to you givers. Go again.
Not enough time, not enough sleep.
So real quick, to y'all real moral, I got to take care of everybody. Do it again.
Not enough time, not enough sleep. Not enough money, not enough bandwidth to think clearly. Stress and exhaustion, even temporarily, lower IQ.
Let me stop real quick before you go. Do you know, I know a lot of black women right now, and y'all are master givers, and y'all think y'all feel good because y'all trying to help everybody out. You even got some kids who fucked up because you overgave to them. But yet get with your girlfriends, you say, girl, I ain't got enough time. I ain't had no sleep. My money funny and shit. And I just ain't got time to read all these goddamn books down there in the goddamn Hopi asking me to read and shit. I'm stressed out with these goddamn kids and this man of mine ain't shit. I'm exhausted. I just need a fucking nap. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Stress and exhaustion, even temporarily, lower IQ and bias people toward unpleasant memories, hampering their ability to make good decisions.
So when you even reflect on your past, the bad memories overtake the good memories because you done burnt all your time and your attention away, and now all you can think about is all the negative shit in your life, and you look through your life and the stories you tell are focused around the negative. Flip one more. Just flip one more because this shit's so hot. Flip it again.
These effects extend beyond ourselves.
Okay, real quick. It ain't all about you, player. Keep it going.
Studies show that those managers who felt most swamped ran teams with the worst performance and lowest profit.
So you so givey. You so give. Oh, you're so nice. You should be next to Jesus. And you can't run your fucking team. You can't manage shit. Your performance suck and your team, your profits are low. But you giving. Everybody, oh man, you know, you a real one. You know, when we come to you, we know you got our back. Just come on, just roll another slide. Come on, roll this shit. Because we'll come back and we can hit these same slides again and you can talk about them. And then some of us, you ever heard of this fear of missing out? A big one. Go ahead.
When offered an exclusive or limited time opportunity, we might get a significant bout of FOMO.
Meaning that we get to the point that we don't want to not show up for people because what if this is a serious time? What if I wasn't there for you? What if I missed the opportunity? What happened? Next one.
Reciprocity comes up regularly too.
Oh yeah, so you know, the reason I give because in the end of the day, I want to make sure that somebody's gonna be there for me. Go ahead.
If we say yes, the other person will owe us a favor. It's not a dumb reason, but it's pretty transactional.
Hustler. That's what a hustler is. So hustlers move around. I'm due for you. You do for me. You do for me. Do for you. If you go into Oakland, everybody's doing transactional helping and giving. Flip it. Next one.
And finally, a lot of us really love to help. If life has been good to us, we want to pay it forward.
Uh-oh, this is okay. So now life has been good to us. I'm now making some money. I'm running my business. I'm finally doing good. Go ahead.
Or if life has dealt us a tough hand, maybe we want to protect other people from suffering like we did.
So, you know, I came from the hood, and I don't want none of y'all to suffer like I suffer. Keep going.
Kindness is admirable. But if we're waiting for other people to ask, then we're distributing our generosity unfairly.
So when we sit around and we're waiting for people to ask us for support because we're trying to like set ourselves up like I'm helping these people as opposed to building a system to give support. When you give control support, it's boundary design. But if you let people just keep coming in your life and pull support, you are unfairly showing up to people. Flip it. So also, as you give away, every time you say yes to somebody else, you're saying no to yourself. Next one. I'm going to go real fast. We'll come back to it again next week. Go ahead.
When you don't set boundaries around your generosity,
Listen here.
your kindness saps your strength.
Your kindness what? So
Saps
if you
your
don't set
strength.
boundaries, your kindness, your Christians, listen to me, because stay with me, Christians. I know some of y'all like dipping your fingers in holy water and just rubbing it on the back of your neck. Keep going.
Your kindness saps your strength, diminishing your ability to be influential.
Wait. It says, your kindness saps your strength.
Diminishing your ability to be influential.
Didn't you just say to them earlier that we're in the business of being influential? I think that's what Court said. Somebody roll back the tape. You know, we ain't got no tape. We're going to talk that old school shit. Somebody roll back the tape and see on the tape recorder did he say that. Let's keep going.
Saying no creates vitally important limits. Don't let yourself become someone who's cheery for
Cheery? Wait. Did she about to say cheery? Shakina, she about to say cheery. Ain't that some shit? Go ahead.
whose cherry facade masks your exhaustion and leaves you prone to lashing out.
So you give so much that you exhaust yourself, then you lash out over here, compromising all the work you put in over here. Keep going.
Don't ignore your inner compass just to please someone else.
Ooh, keep going. Next slide.
As we get more comfortable with saying no, we get more comfortable hearing no.
That's the phrase. In business, many of you guys would never sell or approach a new customer because you can't hear no. You guys fear rejection so much. But the way you get comfortable hearing no, you got to get comfortable saying no. There's an exercise called you take a whole day or a whole week and you say no to everybody. Everybody. It's going to feel the most awkward shit you've ever done. But once you learn to say no, you get comfortable hearing no. When you over-pleasing people, then you expect everybody to please you, and you get so mad when people tell you, you get frustrated. You want to cuss him. You want to knock a motherfucker out because he said no to you. Because you framed the situation wrong. Is there any more slides of that? Time, attention, money. By giving in a way that lacks discipline, you compromise your time, your attention, your money. You sit in hope, can't read the books, can't do nothing for yourself. You can't go to the gym to take care of your physical body that's dying every day that you don't take care. You can't eat right. You miss a meal, so you got to eat chocolate because you miss meal and you're so hungry. The chocolate's the easiest thing to have access to, right? The reality is that why were you in that space? Who were you giving that time to? Who did you plan that? Who said, can you be at this event? Can you come to my baby shower on Tuesday? Can you be this event over there? Can you do this for me? Can you come watch me do a dance on a stage? And guess what? You got no time to build your shit.
And if you have a big family, oh, it's even worse.
It's 10 times worse. So the reality is that time, attention, money is not even accessible if you don't get your giving game under control. I wanted to tap this giving thing because I wanted to show you guys that I'm going to talk about giving and taking for the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to be like, wait a minute, what the hell? Because some of y'all running around here wearing a badge of, I gave and I gave and then I gave and I gave and then I gave. Huh? You should give it to me sometimes because I give so much. And I'm looking at you like you about as empty as they could be, giving everybody everything. Because guess what you didn't give? You didn't give yourself shit. And that's where boundaries come in. Without boundaries, you are not even valuable enough for yourself. With that being said, happy belated Kwanzaa and have a good weekend. See y'all later. Peace.